These are pictures from July 29th of 1992, the last time Dave Stieb started here at SkyDome. The winningest pitcher in Toronto history retired, came back this year. Here's his only start this year in Chicago. He pitched well but lost the game. Pat Hentgen today was supposed to start. He has tendonitis in the right shoulder, so Dave Stieb will start in Toronto for the first time since way back in 1992.
Labatt Blue Jays baseball on CBC.
And a pleasant late Saturday afternoon in Southern Ontario. Roof is open this afternoon for Game 2 of this weekend series. Last night in the opener, an exciting come-from-behind 7-6 Toronto victory. And with John Cerutti, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Williams. Welcome to Labatt Blue Jays baseball on CBC. In case you missed it earlier, Mark McGuire thrown out of the game today in St. Louis, his first at bat. He argued a called third strike from the home plate umpire Sam Holbrook, also tossed out of the game. The manager, Tony La Russa, the pitching coach, Dave Duncan. We'll talk about that. We'll see the incident during our telecast this afternoon. But right now, John Cerutti, let's talk about the Blue Jays starter, the veteran, the old man, Dave Stieb.
Dave Stieb, as we know, has been a starter throughout his career, and since being recalled by the Blue Jays back in June, he has wanted to start. He just got that one start in Chicago in the second game of a doubleheader. This is a great opportunity for him here this afternoon. We know he's had a remarkable career with the Blue Jays, and this has been a remarkable comeback after being away for 5 years from baseball. There's what he's done. He is among the leaders or the leader in most pitching categories. Look at the starts and the complete games. Over 25% of the games that he started in his career, he has completed. Now, Dave Stieb, he may not be the same pitcher he was 10 years ago, but he is close. He still has that wicked slider that he throws at different angles. That's still his out pitch. And as far as emotion, now he's been downplaying the significance of this start here this afternoon, but believe me, he'll have a lot of emotion because he's back here in front of the hometown here at SkyDome, and he's going to have to be careful to keep those emotions in check in the early going until he settles in.
Well, John spoke earlier with Dave Stieb. We'll hear that interview in just a minute. He'll face Brad Radke this afternoon. Name is familiar. He was in the thick of the Cy Young race with Roger Clemens 1 year ago. Live from Toronto, you're watching Labatt Blue Jays baseball on CBC. Dave Stieb makes his second start of the year here this afternoon. First in Toronto since 1992. He's stepping out now. John Cerutti had a chance to speak with Stieb here late yesterday, right after he found out he'd be starting today in place of the injured Pat Hentgen.
Well, obviously it means a lot to me. You know, I'd rather start, and I had that one start on the road, but it means a lot more to start here at home with all my past here. So obviously I like to go out there and do a good job.
You prefer starting, and you have said that the Blue Jays do not have plans for you to start. You'd like to move on. Where do you see yourself next year?
That's a good question, John. I haven't really given it much thought. I just want to get in some more games here and do well and have some kind of value for myself for next year.
Well, he mentioned some kind of value for himself next year, John Cerutti. How about value this year? You know, possible trade bait.
Well, today's the 29th of August, of course, and postseason rosters have to be set by midnight on Monday. It's still a possibility that the Blue Jays are showcasing Dave to teams in contention that are looking for pitching.
Here's the lineup he'll face this afternoon. Pat Mears, the veteran, leads it off. Brent Gates is at short. Last night, Ortiz, the starting first baseman, was injured. Ron Coomer started at third, went over to first, and Gates came in, so Gates is at third again this afternoon. Molitor at 4 runs batted in. Marty Cordova's in left. Walker hitting well over 300. I mentioned Ron Coomer started at third last night. He's at first here this afternoon. The veteran Terry Steinbach is the catcher. And the right fielder, the number 9 hitter, is Alex Ochoa.
Dave Stieb, 41 years of age. This is his second start of this season, and his first start here at home since July 29th, 1992. There are the numbers for this season, and they're very respectable. 16 strikeouts, 11 walks, and 33 in a third innings. And his velocity has progressed throughout the season. He came to spring training as a guest instructor, and by the middle of March, he was at minor league camp making a comeback after being away from baseball for 5 years. Now, back in 1992, there's the defense. Maldonado, Devon White, Joe Carter. This is a pretty good ball club right here. course, they went on and won the World Championship in
Manny
92.
called me Manuel.
Manny Lee, Manuel at shortstop. Robbie Olivar, maybe one of the best second basemen ever to play. And here's the defense behind Dave Stieb here in 1998. Stewart, Cruz, and Green. Good young outfield. Fernandez, Gonzalez, Graybeck, and Delgado. That's the infield we've been seeing over the last 4 weeks. And Darren Fletcher, the veteran catcher, came over as a free agent in the offseason from the Montreal Expos.
The shortstop, Pat Mears, leads it off. And the first pitch from Dave Stieb is ball 1. Mears has hit safely in 23 of his last 26 games.
Now Dave still will predominantly throw a lot of breaking balls or throw a lot of sliders. He does throw a curveball. Here's what he's done against the Twins in his career. Good numbers except for the win-loss record, 12-14. Still has a live fastball. Now when he first broke into the major leagues, Dave Stieb would run his fastball up about 92 to 94 miles per hour with very good life on it, late movement. He doesn't throw that hard anymore, but he has been clocked at 90 miles per hour this year.
Pat Mears has faced Dave Stieb only once in his career, and it's interesting with a count of 3-1 in that previous appearance. Mears was 1.
Most of these hitters outside of Molitor and Steinbeck do not have a lot of history or experience against Dave Stieb. They simply weren't in the major leagues when Dave Stieb was last pitching back in 1993 when he was with the White Sox, and that was only briefly.
We were down in the field before the game today, and we were talking. We were saying, all right, let's find some players that have hit against Dave Stieb. Of course, Molitor. Then we were thinking, Otis Nixon, but Nixon's not in the lineup today.
Otis Nixon's bothered by a mild left hamstring strain.
Popped up. Back goes Graybeck into shallow center field, and the leadoff hitter, Pat Mears, is retired here in the first inning. John, it's natural. You started. It's natural for a starting pitcher to be pumped, to be in his own world the day he makes a start, but Dave Stieb takes this to a whole different level.
Yes, well, you're right. All starting pitchers, they will be nervous before ball games, and they have their own way of getting their game face on before a ball game. Dave was always, you're right, more nervous, or at least he showed that nervousness more so than anyone. He's a very competitive person in everything he does, even away from the baseball field. One of the most competitive people I've been around.
Is there a key early here this afternoon to finding out, to seeing whether or not he has it?
I think it's the fact that he's throwing strikes. It was interesting to Pat Mears on a 3-2 pitch. He took a little off his breaking ball. He feels more confident, and he has done this throughout his career, in throwing his slider when he needs to in a pinch. He feels he has more control of that pitch in order to throw for strikes.
Ground ball. Gonzalez on to first base, 2 up and 2 down.
Now that was another breaking ball that he rode in on the hands of Brent Gates.
And here's Paul Molitor, 4 runs batted in last night.
When you step out to face Dave Stieb,
42-41. There's 83 years there.
Well, it's funny, when they were in Minneapolis a few weeks back, Dave and I joked about all the battles we've had over the years, and 83 years is quite a bit. But, you know, he was outdone a little bit the other night when I faced Dennis Eckersley, and we had 85 years between us. But still, disappointed Pat's not going to get a chance to pitch tomorrow, but certainly we'll look forward to facing Dave.
Of course, against Eckersley, you laid down that bunt with 2 outs.
Well, I took advantage of his age. See, there you go.
That's ball 1 to Molitor. In his career, it's interesting. Molitor only 13 for 63, 206 against Dave Stieb.
Well, it started well here, retiring the first 2 batters for Dave Stieb. I think that the first inning is critical. It's critical for any starting pitcher, but in this case, here at SkyDome, Dave Stieb, after 6 years, first time in 6 years starting in front of the hometown crowd, this first inning is very important.
Molitor with a 2-out base hit here in the top of the first inning. The old man at the plate has the advantage over the old man on the mound so far here this afternoon. Here's that last pitch.
Again, a breaking ball, not in a bad spot, away from Molitor. But as he does so well, taking the ball the other way, Paul Molitor hits the ball where it is pitched. If it's away from him, it usually will go to right field. If it's inside, he'll try to pull it. And that's why he's had so many hits.
Speaking about hitting it where it's pitched, we talked with Woody Williams this afternoon, and you talked about the pitch that Molitor laced for a bases-loaded double.
For me, that was the one bad pitch that he made. Now, he hung some breaking balls, and I talked about that, but the critical pitch was that ball with the bases loaded, 2 outs that he threw to Paul Molitor, the first pitch, and he jumped all over the fastball. Williams tried to come in. He wanted it inside on his hands. He left it right out over the plate. And Molitor took advantage with that quick, short, level swing. Anyone who hits for average is going to use the whole field. Pull hitters are not going to hit for as much average. They're going to hit for more power. But Dave still has to pay attention to Paul Molitor. He stole a base last night back in the first inning in the same situation, 2 outs. Stole a base against Woody Williams, but was left stranded when David Ortiz flied out. Now, Dave Stieb has mellowed in a lot of ways over the years, as we all do. But I think the best way to describe him, especially back in his remarkable, great career with the Blue Jays, before starts, he was like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs, you might say. That was a Rance Mullinex line he used to use.
I remember interviewing him, it was before last year or 2 years ago, and I said to him when he came back here, while he was still retired, I said, you were rude. In fact, you were downright nasty. He said, yes, I was.
At times, yeah.
No, I said all the time.
No, it was on it every 5th day, before and after his starts.
Jim Joyce calling balls and strikes here this afternoon. Brian Honora is down at first. Terry Kraft up the middle at second, and Al Clark, who was behind the plate here last night, is at third this afternoon. That is hit to right field. Back goes Sean Green. He'll have room and makes the throw. So not a bad first inning for Dave Stieb. He faces 4, and the Minnesota Twins will strand 1. Johnny certainly appears loose and relaxed. Perhaps you noticed as we went to commercial, he was smiling as he spoke with the home plate umpire, Jim Joyce. Jim Joyce was actually in the league prior to Stieb's retirement.
He's a young umpire, but he was here, I believe, around 1990-91. Jim Joyce came into the league.
Joyce is probably saying, I thought I was through for you for good. Here's the with you for good. Here's the lineup that Radke will face this afternoon as he starts for the Minnesota Twins. Shannon Stewart leads it off. Sean Green with a big night last night, 2 home runs, 27 and 28. Canseco with number 37. Delgado bats clean up this afternoon. Fernandez at third. Fletcher's catching. Graybeck had an error last night, as did Tony Fernandez. And Alex Gonzalez last night hit in his 11th straight game. Well, the Minnesota starter, Brad Radke, an interesting story. Won 12 straight at one time last year, ended up a 20-game winner, challenged for the Cy Young, but he's had his troubles this year, John.
He has since the All-Star break. He was a lone representative for the Minnesota Twins on the American League All-Star team this year. He had very good numbers at the All-Star break, especially given the record of the Minnesota Twins. He was 9-6 and had an ERA of 2.77. Here are his numbers overall, and you can see the hits per innings pitched. That's been the difference here in the second half. He is 1-6 and has a 6.55 ERA in 9 starts since the All-Star break. But he is a good pitcher, and he has shown signs of getting back on track his last couple of starts.
That is through and up the middle. A leadoff base hit. by Shannon Stewart here in the bottom of the first inning. Last night, Stewart walked and then stole second base, but was stranded.
Brad Radke has exceptional control. He threw this ball off the outside plate. Watch the plate coverage by Shannon Stewart. Gets the head of the bat across that plate and lines this ball in the center field. Now you would expect Shannon Stewart to be running, as the Blue Jays have done all season. They are leading the major leagues in stolen bases. Brad Radke, he has a good move, and Terry Steinbeck has been good behind the plate in throwing out runners. Steinbeck has thrown out 20 of 68 would-be base stealers this season. That's just under 30%. That's about the average in the American League or in the Major League. Throughout his career, Steinbeck has thrown out 36%. He is known to have a very accurate arm from behind the plate.
Stewart is running. Here's the throw down to second. He's in there. Another stolen base, and again it's in the first inning, just like last night. He walked and stole second. Today a single and a stolen base.
A good break for Shannon Stewart, and it was a good pitch to run on. It was an off-speed pitch that was down out of the strike zone. Steinbeck had to go down, get it. Made a throw on the money to Mears, the shortstop, covering, but Stewart with that great speed in there with his 41st steal.
That is hit to right field. Ochoa is back. It is off the wall. Here comes Stewart. It is 1-0 Toronto, and at third base, with a run batted in and a triple, he had 2 home runs last night. The hot-hitting Sean Green. Triple and a run batted in.
Sean Green was putting on a display during batting practice. The roof was closed up until about 20 minutes before game time, and the ball was flying out of here at SkyDome. This ball has a lot of underspin, which helps it carry to right field, and you can see it just eludes the leaping Ochoa in right field, hits off the top of the wall. And Shannon Stewart, he did the right thing. He was looking to tag in case that ball was caught to come to third base, but he still was able to score from second.
None out. That's strike 1 to Canseco. So Stewart got to second on a stolen base last night and was stranded. Green struck out. Canseco struck out. Delgado flied out. Different story here this afternoon. He's cashed in on the RBI triple.
Minnesota Twins have their infield back. They will concede the run on a ground ball to one of the middle infielders. They're just looking for an out here. And really a great situation for Jose Canseco to pick up his 87th RBI. Possibly 88th if he's able to hit it over the wall. But right here, he just wants to hit the ball hard. Fly ball will score Green. A ground ball will score him.
When you mentioned Canseco with 86 runs batted in, Sean Green this afternoon with number 82.
Boy, and he just missed his 29th home run by about a foot. Not even.
He's at 28-28 home runs and stolen bases. Speaking of runs batted in, let's have a look at the month of August. For the American League, the Blue Jays standing 1-2.
And 2 big reasons why the Blue Jays have played well here in August.
We saw Delgado on that graphic. Carlos Delgado is on deck.
Brad Radke, he is looking for the strikeout in this situation, of course, and he runs a pitch in right on the hands of Canseco, and he fouls it off his right thigh. That there was deep in his kitchen.
That might have been in the pantry. Reaching. Canseco drops this into right center field. Here comes Green with a second Toronto run into second base with a stand-up double and a run batted in is Jose Canseco. It is 2-0 Toronto. 87th run batted into the year for Jose Canseco.
Jose Canseco, the last 2 nights, has gone the other way for home runs, and that is a very good sign of him staying on the ball away from him. And you see in this pitch, this ball probably off the outside corner. Just reaches out, makes enough contact to send it into right center field for the double.
God, the Blue Jays need a home run for a first inning cycle here.
They almost did it last night against Mike Trombley. The first 3 batters he faced gave up a triple, single, and a home run.
It's a mile high.
Has a chance.
Not deep enough. Ochoa with a nice play in the corner. And advancing over to third base is Jose Canseco. That is only the first out here in the bottom of the first inning. So a single, triple, double, and a long first out. Here's a nice play by Ochoa, the right fielder.
It was hooking down the line. Well, that's a great catch by Alex Ochoa in foul territory. I believe that ball would have been foul. And Carlos Delgado, he just missed the home run, just got under it a little bit. Hit it a mile high. And now the Twins will bring the infield in.
They bring it in. And Cruz drops that into right field. It goes off Ochoa. It's 3-0 Toronto. Back to first base goes Cruz after the run batted in. 34th run batted into the year for Jose Cruz Jr. as he brings in Canseco. And the Blue Jays on 4 hits take a 3-0 lead here in the bottom of the first inning.
And they are wasting no time. They're jumping on the first pitches they see in the strike zone from Brad Radke. This ball hits so hard, and then it hits Alex Ochoa. Goes to his right, and the center fielder, Lawton, with a heads-up play, keeps Cruz at first base. But Cruz made a good aggressive turn, looking to make a double or make it to second base. Terry Steinbeck, the veteran catcher, out to settle down his starter. Also remind him to pay attention to Cruz, that he will run as well. Attempt to steal. You see that good aggressive turn by Cruz around first base. And a nice play by Lawton backing up Ochoa. Able to get the ball in and keep Cruz to a single.
Still 1 down. Runner at first is Cruz. Here's Tony Fernandez. John, you remember Steve didn't used to get a lot of run support.
Yes,
in fact,
I was just
many occasions in which he would glare at the bench, those sitting with him. Of course, he did it when he was pitching at defensive miscues, but he never got a lot of run support in the past. He's got a 3-run cushion at least so far here in the first inning.
He came up with the Blue Jays in 1979, and they were still the fledgling expansion ball club. And they were not winning a lot of ball games. And when he went out there, he demanded excellence out of everyone around him. And I've talked to a lot of veteran players that played with him back in 79, 80. Tim Johnson was one of them. And they said, we simply weren't in his league. Dave Stieb here, he's one of the best pitchers at a young age in the American League. And he couldn't understand why he wasn't getting the support equal to his performances on the field. And you're right, he would look, he would glare at, I remember Tony Fernandez when he first came up. Now this is in the early 80s. He would glare at Tony when he would boot a ball. And here's a guy who won 4 gold gloves at shortstop.
When we talk about the glares, the fans remember those when he was pitching, but the players will tell you he used to do it when in the dugout. If he didn't get much run support and somebody didn't cash in a run, when they came back to the dugout to get that look.
I remember an incident. I was within the organization pitching the minor leagues, and I went down to Boston to watch a game in September after our minor league season had ended. I believe it was 1984. And Dave Stieb was pitching. It was a critical game because remember in '84 the Blue Jays were very close to contending, and they fell out of the race in the middle of August. But at this time, Dave Stieb, he had a good year going. He had an excellent year, and Tony Fernandez booted a ball, a slow hopper to a shortstop, and Dave turned around, made a glared at Tony, and then he also looked up at the official score because they scored it a hit. Of course, in Boston, in their ballpark, he scored it a hit. He was not pleased about that at all. But that, again, it just points up the competitiveness that Dave Stieb has. He demands excellence out of himself every time he toes the rubber, even at the age of 41.
Of course, the other way of looking at it is, and he'll be the first to admit, he was not the consummate team player in those days. He was thinking too much of himself and not realizing that this team was still on the rise. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Tony Fernandez. Cruz at first. 3-0 Toronto.
Brad Radke is a very good story as well. Talking about Dave Stieb, a comparison. Here's a player the first couple of years in the major leagues. He was a good pitcher, although pitching with the Minnesota Twins, he had a .500 record the last 2 years up until last year when he was 20-10. He's pitched well against the Blue Jays.
There's a base hit into right field. Cruz will stop at second. On at first is Tony Fernandez. So with 1 down here in the bottom of the first inning, Toronto now with runners at first and second and a 3-0 lead.
Not a bad pitch. Again, away from the left-handed batter, Tony Fernandez. This ball hit a little bit off the end of the bat, right off the end of the bat. But a hit on the line, enough to serve it into right field. Tom Kelly wondering what's going on with my ace. He has been hit hard since the All-Star break. Now, Brad Radke, he started on Sunday against the Boston Red Sox. He pitched 6 innings, gave up 5 runs and 12 hits, but after the game, he said he felt as strong as he has all year.
Fletcher pulls this one foul.
He felt that he is as close, or very close, to getting back into a groove. This has to be very discouraging, what's transpired here in the bottom of the first inning of this ball game.
That's hit to left field. Marty Cordova back at the warning track. And the runners hold. Back to first base goes Fernandez. Cruz is back to second. And Darren Fletcher is retired.
Another pitch away from the batter, and a good piece of hitting from Darren Fletcher. Got the head of the bat on this baseball. Drove it to left field. Cordova makes a nice running catch on the left side. Brad Radke has exceptional control. He throws 4 pitches, fastball in the low 90s, a curveball, a slider, and a changeup.
2 down, and the first pitch is a called strike 1 to Craig Graybeck. Runners at first and second. John, the Blue Jays have 5 hits and 3 runs, but let's not forget the 2 outs, both long outs. Delgado fly ball into the right field corner, and you just saw Fletcher send Cordova back to the warning track in left field.
He has not fooled the 7 batters he's faced there in the first inning. I asked Tom Kelly about Brad Radke and what has been the difference this second half, and he said, first of all, he is not making as good of quality pitches when he gets ahead. He's leaving more balls in the middle of the plate, and also the opposition, the opposing hitters, are waiting him out more. He said last year, Brad Radke, because he had control, hitters went up there swinging early in the count, not letting him get 2 strikes, where this year they're waiting, been more patient, and they haven't chased as many bad pitches out of the strike zone. So there are adjustments made. A good example is Jose Cruz, the runner at second base, the adjustments he's made since coming back from Syracuse after the demotion. Now, pitchers have to make adjustments as well.
Inside to Graybeck. Count even.
And there may be some arm fatigue. He won 20 ball games to a lot of innings last year for the Minnesota Twins. He's just 25 years of age. And those innings, as they build up, maybe much like what's happened with Pat Hentgen all the starts and complete games and pitches he's thrown, it takes its toll.
That is the 27th pitch this inning, thrown by Brad Radke. And it breaks down.
It's a good breakdown. A lot of strikes. The problem is most of those strikes have been hit hard. There's a good example. Now that was a good overhand curveball with 2 strikes, and Grayback looked at it and took it. That was a pitch that Bradke was getting hitters to swing at early part of this year and all of last year.
At second base is Cruz. On at first is Fernandez. 2 down, 3-0 Toronto. Line drive handled by the third baseman Brent Gates, and that's all for the Toronto Blue Jays. Here in the bottom of the first inning, they send 8 men to the plate and take a 3-0 lead over the Minnesota Twins. Well, in the bottom of the first inning, Brad Radke threw 29 pitches, gave up 5 hits and 3 runs. In the top of the first inning, Dave Stieb threw 18 pitches, gave up but 1 hit, and faced 4 batters. Here in the second, here's Marty Cordova, the left fielder. And that is a foul ball. Cordova leads it off. He'll be followed by the second baseman Todd Walker and the Minnesota first baseman, normally their third baseman, Ron Coomer. At San Francisco, Joe Carter has hit his second home run in the second inning as the Giants are now tied with the Phillies at 1-1. Sammy Sosa, we showed you Sosa last night, hitting number 53 against Colorado. Cubs play tonight in Denver. Cordova drops this into center field. Leadoff single by the left fielder Marty Cordova, and that is the second hit this afternoon for the Minnesota Twins.
Now get a 28-point fall checkup, plus oil, lube, and filter, tire rotation, and a free jug of washer fluid, all for just $29.95, only at Canadian Tire.
So Dave Stieb gives up the leadoff single to Marty Cordova here in the second inning. Big inning for Stieb as he faces Todd Walker. Big inning in as much as he was staked to that 3-0 first inning lead by the Blue Jays.
It is. He was in that dugout for a while, but as a starting pitcher in the first inning, you don't mind at all when your teammates are running around the bases scoring runs for you. Will gladly take the extra rest for a 3-run cushion early. Cordova not a threat to steal. He stole 20 bases back in 1995 when he was American League Rookie of the Year to complement the 27 home runs he hit.
Walker hits this to left field. Shannon Stewart is right there, and back to first base goes Marty Cordova. 1 down. Walker struggling. He was 0 for 13 in the series this week against the Devil Rays down in Tampa.
He was second in the American League in the batting race, but has dropped because of that poor series. And it's not only an indication sometimes the batting average and what he's done. Walker last night hit the ball very hard despite an 0 for 4 night. In fact, the first 3 times up, he lined the ball to center field for outs. And right there, he hit the ball on the button to left field.
Big game in the National League this afternoon. Mets and Dodgers, 2-1 LA. In Los Angeles, Mondesi is homered for the Dodgers. Atlanta is leading in St. Louis. And as we said at the top of the show, Mark McGuire thrown out of that game by Stan Holbrook. That's a final. The Braves defeat St. Louis 4-3. And we will show you that play during the game this afternoon. McGuire tossed for arguing a called third strike. Really the only race left, John, is the American League West, but great race is that wild card race in the National League.
Yeah, those are very important games. The Mets playing the Dodgers. They beat them in extra innings last night. The Mets beat the Dodgers. The Dodgers still trying to hang in there. They're 7 games out in the wild card race. They're a game under 500.
Bobby Bonilla has homered for the Dodgers. It's now 3-1 over the New York Mets in the second inning.
Well, there you see, coming into today's play, the Cubs and the Mets are knotted at the top of the wild card race in the National League.
Mets are losing. Giants are tied with the Phillies. Dodgers winning as they're playing the Mets. Cubs play tonight in Denver. 1-2 is fouled straight back.
One-two count. The Twins may have something on here. Ron Coomer is a good person, or a good double play candidate, because he hits the ball hard, doesn't have a lot of speed, so they may have Cordova in motion.
Good reason to put Cordova in motion. They did not, is that Coomer is grounded into 20 double plays. That's tops in the American League. Cordova's in motion, and Coomer fouls it back, and back to first base goes Marty Cordova.
Well, the first thing is that you stay out of the double play if you put the runner in motion, and also with 2 strikes and against Dave Stieb, Tom Kelly knows that he will often throw that breaking ball, and that is a much better pitch to run on, because if it's out of the strike zone, you still have a chance to steal second base if Coomer does not swing.
Count is full with 1 down to Ron Coomer. Marty Cordova at first after the leadoff single to center field.
Tom Kelly does not like to sacrifice, but he does like to use the hit and run. And I think with a count full here, he'll put Cordova in motion.
Cordova was running, and once again he will return to first base.
Tom Kelly knows that he doesn't have the firepower to compete with the better hitting teams in the American League, so he relies on using, first of all, playing good defense, good base running, hustle, and not making mistakes, playing good fundamental baseball. And you have to manufacture runs when you don't have the home run power that the Twins lack.
That is ball 4. So that puts Marty Cordova on at second. Coomer on at first, just 1 down. Here's that last pitch.
A fastball up. It looked like Dave Stieb, this was trying to throw it for a strike and didn't finish his follow through. You saw him really stand up. He was standing straight up when he delivered that baseball.
John, we talked about Paul Molitor, Otis Nixon. They've faced Dave Stieb in the past. Here's another player that is batted in the past against Dave Stieb, and he's not had much luck. Steinbach is but a 158 career hitter against Dave Stieb. Of course, those stats I don't think mean a whole lot later, or mean a whole lot now 6 years later.
Well, most of those at bats were when Steinbach was with the Oakland Athletics. Just 3 hits in 19 appearances against Dave Stieb.
That's hit to left center field. Cruz coming over to his right and makes the play. Runners we're going to hold. Now coming over to third is Marty Cordova.
That's good base running by Cordova. He went back to second base to tag and really wasn't planning on coming to third, but when he saw the throw behind him going to second base, he was a couple feet off the second base bag. He went ahead and went to third base.
You can almost say he bluffed, outsmarted Cruz on that point.
Well, the throw should come in to the cutoff man, the shortstop. You see Cruz throwing right to second base. That's the mistake. There in your picture was Alex Gonzalez, the shortstop. If he throws the ball to Gonzalez, Cordova goes nowhere.
That's a fair ball. Coming in to score is Cordova. And the Twins, with 2 down, will have runners at second and third. Minnesota's on the board, trailing 3-1 here in the top of the second inning. That's a double by Ochoa and a run batted in.
We've seen a lot of balls off the outside edge hit the other way. This ball just inside the first base line. And watch the fan as they grab that ball. And I don't recommend that. And when you come out to a ballpark, you should not go after baseballs when the ball is in play. And because of that, Terry Steinbeck, or excuse me, Ron Coomer, who does not run well, was at first base. He might have had a chance to score had it kicked around and gotten by Sean Green. But Sean Green possesses one of the best arms in the outfield in the American League, or in baseball for that matter.
Ron Coomer's at third. Alex Ochoa is at second. 2 down, back to the top of the order for the shortstop Pat Mears. So the Twins now trailing by 2. 1 run on 3 hits. And 2 of those hits have come here in the second inning. Leadoff single by Cordova. And the RBI double by Ochoa. Hits this into left field. Here comes Coomer. Ochoa comes in to score, and the Minnesota Twins have tied this game at 3 here in the top of the second inning. Dave Stieb not able to hold the 3-0 lead he was staked to in the bottom of the first inning.
All coming with 2 outs, and the Twins are going to take advantage of the throwing arm of Shannon Stewart. Scott Olger, the third base coach, never hesitated in waving the second runner, Alex Ochoa, from second base, and he scores easily. Ochoa runs well, but you can see as the ball hits the infield, it doesn't have that carry that a throwing arm will have.
Well, John, as we look at this second inning, we talked about Steve in the past, unhappy with the defensive support he would receive. He's got no one to blame but himself here in this inning.
Well, the walk to Coomer hurt, but 2 out hits by Ochoa and now Mears.
Brent Gates came into the game last night to play third after Coomer moved over to first for the injured Ortiz, and first time up hit an RBI single to center field. High hopper. No play. That has immediately scored a hit. 5th hit of the afternoon for the Minnesota Twins. So it moves Mears down to second. Here's the swing by Gates, who's on at first.
Ball bounced right off the plate. There's nothing that the defense can do to knock this ball down. It's an artificial turf base hit, infield hit.
So with 2 down, runners at first and second, already 3 Minnesota runs in here in the second inning. The batter is Molitor. Molitor singled in the first inning. I said last night when he came up with the bases loaded in the 5th inning, it's not the batter you want to see, and he promptly delivered that bases loaded double.
This is an important point of the game for Dave Stieb. He had a tendency in his career when things didn't go his way to take on a more of a defeatist attitude that, well, it's just not my day. And right now he needs to get an out. He's still in a tie ball game and regroup for the next inning. Now he walked the batter. He had a ball hit just inside the first base line by Alex Ochoa on a pretty good pitch from Dave Stieb. Then the infield hit here by Gates.
Ground ball. Gonzalez will flip to Grayback for the force at second, and that's all for the Minnesota Twins here in the top of the second inning. 8 men go to the plate, and on 4 hits in the second inning, this game is tied at 3. Bottom of the second inning, Brad Radke had a terrible first inning. 8 Blue Jays to the plate, 5 hits and 3 runs through 29 pitches. First pitch is a swinging strike to Alex Gonzalez, leading it off here in the second. John talked about the second inning being important for Dave Stieb after he was staked to a 3-0 lead. Same thing applies here for Radke, who appeared to be out of this ball game and is suddenly back in this ball.
Gives him new life. The way you look at it, early part of the game after a rough first inning for Radke, you say, okay, my team helped me get back in this ball game. They tied it. I'm just going to approach it as a 0-0 game, almost as if it's another start. Jim Joyce letting everyone know that ball was inside.
Gonzalez with a big game last night as he extended his consecutive games hitting streak to 11. He singled in the 3rd inning, tripled, and came in to score in the 7th inning. Gates will have to move. Gonzalez has speed, and he is safe at first base. He has a 12-game hitting streak.
During batting practice, I was talking to Tim Johnson. John Green was hitting with Carlos Delgado and Alex Gonzalez, and he made some very nice comments about Gonzalez and the way he's been playing. Not only the hitting streak that he's been on over the last couple of weeks, but his hustle, his talent. You're talking about 30-30, and the Blue Jays have a very good chance of having 2 players with Green and Canseco reach that 30-30 milestone or plateau, 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases. And in talking with or about Alex Gonzalez, he said this guy is going to be a 20-20 man, and I agree with him. Alex Gonzalez, good speed, can easily steal 20 bases a season, but he has the power to hit 20 home runs. Although he still is learning to hit more for average. He's, as I said last night, I feel he should be hitting 270, 280 because he has that type of ability. He's a great athlete. And as he becomes a better hitter and stops trying to pull the ball and look to hit home runs, he'll hit more home runs because home run hitters will tell you that they hit the home runs when they're not trying to do that. Just trying to make good contact.
Gonzalez fools the Minnesota Twins, was not running.
There's the confidence that Tom Kelly has in Brad Radke's control. A 1-0 count. He called for the pitch out. Nothing doing, and it puts Radke in a hole, but again, he has such exceptional control. He feels, and his manager feels, that he can come back and get Stewart, at least throw strikes.
Well, the 2-0 to Stewart is a ball, and now Radke behind 3 balls and no strikes. Radke walks Stewart, sending Gonzalez down to second base, none out, and it brings up Sean Green. Let's go back to last night. Green, the star of the game with 2 home runs. Look at this first one, John. It's a moonshot off Windows Restaurant in the 5th inning. Then in the 7th inning, 2-run homer to right field wins the game with Stewart on board.
And that second one was hit almost as hard as his first home run to straightaway center field, but it had so much topspin on it. It was amazing that it was able to get out of the ballpark. Looks like a topspin lob in tennis. Blue Jays with good speed on the base pass. Not a bad time to try the double steal with Gonzalez at second, Shannon Stewart at first base. And then you may force Tom Kelly to either pitch to Green with runners at second and third or intentionally walk him.
That's the first out here in the 2nd inning. Green is down swinging with Stewart at first base, Gonzalez at second.
Even though Radke has given up an infield single and a walk here in the 2nd inning, he appears to be more aggressive in the 3 batters he has faced. He threw some good fastball to Stewart, although they missed, and he walked him on 4 pitches. His fastballs to Green had a little extra velocity, a little more velocity than he had in the 1st inning. Same is true with that first pitch to Canseco. It's interesting, Radke, when he first came to the Minnesota Twins, his first 2 years, he was clocked about 86, 87 miles per hour on his fastball. Last year, they clocked him in the low 90s, 91, 92.
0-1 pitch, popped up into shallow center field. Into the sunlight comes Lott. Runners hold, 2 down. That's Gonzalez at second base.
And the difference in his improved velocity from last year and the year before is, first of all, I think some physical maturity. I mean, he's 25 years old. He's a little older last year, of course, 24 years old. But he made some minor mechanical adjustments with pitching coach Dick Such. And he's gotten more consistent with that fastball. He has very good mechanics, very sound mechanics. Brad Radke has never been bothered by any type of shoulder injury or arm injury.
So there's 2 down, still runners at first and second in a 3-3 ball game, and here's Delgado. First pitch popped up to the second baseman Walker. So that's all for the Toronto Blue Jays here in the 2nd. They strand 2. We head to the top of the 3rd inning on this Saturday afternoon in a 3-3 tie. The Atlanta Braves defeated St. Louis this afternoon 4-3. Here's the story in the game, though. First time up, Mark McGwire facing Tom Glavine. Stan Holbrook is the home plate umpire. You're a pitcher, John Cerutti. What do you think?
Well, Mark McGwire thought this pitch was inside. I think it got the inside corner. Now, it may have been low. It was very close, though. Mark McGwire argues the call, which is all right. Then Rene Latchman, the third base coach, comes in and quickly gets McGwire away from him. But we know the size and strength of McGwire. He was not able to contain him and keep him from the home plate umpire, and he stepped over the line, said a couple of the magic words, which you're not allowed to a home plate umpire. You're not supposed to question a strikes and balls to a home plate umpire.
Lawton leads it off. All right, let me ask you. I mean, I'm sure there's two schools of thought. Number one, you praise Holbrook. It's like those that say, you call the game tight even if it's the 7th game of the Stanley Cup in overtime. The other side of the coin is 47,000 people as Lawton is walked, the leadoff hitter by Stieb here in the 3rd inning. The other side of the coin is 47,000 did not go to Busch Stadium this afternoon to see McGwire thrown out of the game. You cut him some slack. What do you think?
Oh, I agree with you. Given the situation and what's going on in baseball, that's been the story. McGwire and Sosa chasing Roger Maris. They're going to give him some latitude in arguing balls and strikes. And now, first of all, that's not something McGwire normally does. A lot of times he'll just chuckle, drop his bat gently at home plate, and take his position at first base. He's called out for the 3rd strike, for the 3rd out in an inning. However, umpires have certain rules, and if you step over those or break those rules as a player, you're going to be ejected. There are certain things you cannot say. You cannot use profanity directed at an umpire, and I think that was the difference. We heard in the replay earlier that McGwire, he had used some profanity, but it was more of the pitch, what he thought of it, and then he must have directed something at the home plate umpire Holbrook, and he ran him immediately.
So what do you think? It's a good play, a bad play?
I admire in the guts of the home plate umpire. I think he has to stick by the rules of the game, and there's no player as great a season as McGwire is having. No player is bigger than the game. No person is bigger than the game. Although doing it at St. Louis in front of 47,000 people with a national television audience took a lot of guts, and I'm sure that's what they're going to be talking about for a while.
And those Atlanta pitchers, McGwire wants some room. The Atlanta pitchers are accustomed to getting some room.
You made a good point. We were watching the broadcast earlier at the time it happened, and you said, wait a minute now, it's not a September call-up, the young rookie pitcher. It's Tom Glavine, and you're absolutely right. He's accustomed to getting those calls.
Fernandez will go to second. Graybeck will not have a play at first base. Lawton is retired at second. It's first out here in the 3rd inning, and Cordova's on at first.
Watch Lawton at second base, or as he comes into second base. Tony Fernandez gives Graybeck a good feed, but a good hard slide by Matt Lawton. You see, it's a very late slide. He keeps his hands up in the air, his arms up. That's enough to keep Graybeck from making a strong throw to first base and try to turn a double play.
So McGwire remains at 54. Sammy Sosa.
53, his 53rd last night. Plays tonight again in Colorado. Boy, how about that home run he hit last night? It was just about knee high, a low fastball that he hit the other way on a line. Still had enough on it to ride it out of Coors Field.
John, we watched the McGwire incident live in the lunchroom here earlier this afternoon. Both of us jokingly, we said, they'll toss him, and then we said, no way, and bang, Holbrook throws him out of the game.
Everyone was shocked, and I think that Mark McGwire, I'm sure, looking back on it now, we haven't heard his comments after the ball game. That game is a final, but I would bet that he's going to apologize and feel bad about what transpired. And he just lost it. He disagreed with the call.
There'll be a million stories, some supporting Holbrook, some saying McGwire should be given more space, and others saying, what about the Andros Steen Dion? I mean, you'll read about this everywhere.
Yeah,
tomorrow. It'll be
unfortunately.
analyzed on television and in print. Yeah, that's
Well, if you're gonna
that's part of making the run at
Yes.
61 home
Yes.
runs. You know,
Absolutely.
You want to make the run. You take the pressure that goes with it.
But if you're going to get thrown out of a ball game, not bad against Tom Glavine. He has had very little success against Glavine and the rest of those starters for the Atlanta Braves.
You know, we laugh here. It was not funny.
No, not at all.
At Busch Stadium when the baseballs came out of the stands towards the home plate umpire Holbrook.
You know how hard tickets are to get in St. Louis and around the National League ballparks when Sosa and McGuire come to town? There are a lot of people that are very disappointed today what transpired. They came out to see Mark McGuire swing the bat in 4 plate appearances, maybe 5. And they get disappointed. He has a bat on his shoulder, gets called out, and then gets run out of the ball game.
Walker hits a looper to right center field. Cruz is there. That's the second out, and back to first base goes Marty Cordova. Of course, still another way of looking at it is there's no way La Russa can sit McGuire down in St. Louis, so McGuire gets the afternoon off, although I'm sure it was not a restful one.
No. Well, like Radke, Dave Stieb seems to be settling down after the 3-run second inning that he had. Radke had the first 2 men on in the second inning, but then he pitched Green, Canseco, and Delgado well and got out of that inning unscathed. Now Dave Stieb 1 batter away or 1 out away from stranding a leadoff walk.
Ron Coomer pops it up. Looking into the sun is the second baseman Graybeck. He makes the play. The Minnesota Twins are retired here in the top of the 3rd inning. We head to the bottom of the 3rd. Speaking of 3s, this game is tied at 3. The score tied at 3. Toronto has out-hit Minnesota 6-5 here in the 3rd inning. Center fielder Jose Cruz Jr. will lead it off, followed by Tony Fernandez and Darren Fletcher. Blue Jays start the day 3 games above 500. Toronto with a record of 69-66. The Minnesota Twins 59-74. Minnesota in the American League Central. Cleveland the only team in that division with a winning record. Cruz hits the first pitch into right center field. Back goes Lawton. Plays it off the wall. Cruz will hold at second base with a leadoff double. So Cruz Jr. is 2 for 2 this afternoon. An RBI single to right field in the first inning and a leadoff double to right center. Here it is in the 3rd.
He had a double last night to a very similar spot in right center field. Boy, he looks so comfortable at the plate, attacking the ball, very aggressive. This one finds the alley. He had a 18-game hitting streak snapped on Tuesday night. But after a couple of hitless games, he's picked up right where he left off during that streak. In talking with Jose Cruz, he talks a lot about Lloyd Mosby and how much he helped him when he was at Syracuse. So they had a lot of long conversations with Lloyd about the mental approach as a hitter. Talked about arrogance. Lloyd using that word, that you need a certain amount of arrogance as a hitter when you're in there batting.
He also credited Tony Phillips, and when you talk about arrogance, man to teach arrogance, and I mean that in a complimentary fashion.
Yeah, you have to.
Tony Phillips.
I mean, it's all about confidence, is what it is, and it borders on cockiness or arrogance. But you play this game with confidence successfully.
Fellow at the plate knows Lloyd Mosby well.
He surpassed him in the all-time hit department for the Toronto Blue Jays earlier this season. Remember, prior to that, Tony was not aware of how close he was actually to Lloyd Moseby, and he said upon breaking his record, you have to call his good friend and remind him.
You mentioned Tony Phillips. Boy, Phillips has played well with the New York Mets. It's a good pickup.
He has. That's to be exciting for him, as the Mets have a chance to reach postseason play this year.
Three and one pitch is ball 4. So Radke with a leadoff double to Cruz. He's still at second. The walk puts Fernandez on at first. Nut out here in the bottom of the 3rd inning. As Tom Kelly looks on, the Toronto batter is the catcher, Darren Fletcher.
He has been out of the stretch, working out of the stretch for the most part here in the first 3 innings. First 3 batters reached base in the 1st inning, first 2 in the 2nd inning, and now the first 2 here in the 3rd inning. He was able to strand the 2 in the last inning and keep the game knotted at 3. Now Fletcher is a good candidate for grounding into a double play. Well, Tim Johnson playing for the big inning, not putting the sacrifice on. Good changeup right there from Radke.
So look at Radke. So many of the pitchers from California, Texas, Florida. He's a Midwestern product, born and raised in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
He was born in Eau Claire, but now he resides in Tampa, Florida. Actually attended high school, Jesuit high school in Florida, and it was quite a thrill for him. He returned to his hometown, or what he considers his hometown, Tampa, Florida. Earlier this year, he pitched against the Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
That's hit to center field. Lawton appeared fooled by the ball. He's in the shadows. He went back, John, about 5 or 6 feet, then moved in.
Ball hit off the end of the bat by Fletcher, and it did fool the center field, but it was hit high enough that he was able to recover. Let's look at the big winners over the last 2 seasons. Roger Clemens with the most wins in the American League. This is through last year. And of course this year, Roger winning 21 games and has won 16 already this year. But Brad Radke right there, despite the 10-12 record this year, he was 20-10 last year. And right in the middle, the Yankees. Pettit was the starter today. The Yankees won 11-6.
3-3 ball game with 1 down here in the 3rd inning. Blue Jays with runners at first and second.
In that ball game that Radke pitched against Tampa Bay back in April, he struck out a career-high 11. A nice way to pitch in front of his family and friends.
Talked about the Atlanta-St. Louis game. Talk about disappointments this year. How about Seattle, John? Graybeck. This little looper is a foul ball.
It's been their pitching. You win with pitching and defense, and despite the great lineup that the Mariners have, they just have not been able to win consistently. It was their bullpen early part of the year. It's been their starting pitching. They trade Randy Johnson. He did not pitch well the time he was there the first half of the season. A lot of distraction with his contract status and the fact that he was going to be traded. All the rumors. Boy, but they're still having Griffey's leading the league in home runs.
A-Rod.
Alex Rodriguez, he is on pace. I mean, he has a chance to be a 50-50 player. 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases.
1-2 pitch is a ground ball to Gates. Goes to third, and that's the only play he'll have. That is the second out. The force at third is Cruz is retired. Toronto still with runners at first and second. Now 2 down.
This is a smart play by Ron Coomer. The ball hit slowly right at him. He realizes he's not going to be, or excuse me, Brent Gates, the third baseman. He realizes he's not going to be able to turn 2. So he takes the lead runner, force out at third base. Gates a very valuable player to have in a ball club. He's not a starter. He's a utility infielder who can play all 3 infield positions. Switch hitter. He runs well.
The bases as Gonzalez is hit by Radke. Fernandez goes over to third. Graybeck is down at second.
Now this is in no way intentional. Runners at first and second and 2 outs. It's just a fastball. You can see where Steinbeck is setting up right inside. Just got away from Radke. And Gonzalez fortunately turned away from the pitch. That's the best thing you can do as a hitter. The ball is approaching you or coming at you. Just turn your body away from it. Caught him on the left shoulder.
2 down, bases loaded for Shannon Stewart. That single came in the first inning. Came around to score on the triple by Sean Green. In that first inning, Toronto scored 3 runs on 5 hits. There's Graybeck at second. Fernandez at third. Gonzalez at first. John, you talked about Radke's control. Fewest walks per 9 innings in the American League. It's David Wells at 1.2. Right behind is Radke at 1.8. Yet in 2 2/3 innings here today, he's got 2 walks and a hit batsman.
And he's given up 7 hits. He's had a lot more base runners this year, especially since the All-Star break here in the second half, than he did last year. Much more. He does have exceptional control. He threw that breaking ball right where he wanted to. He wanted Shannon Stewart to chase it, hit it off the end of the bat, or swing and miss.
Stewart came very close to chasing it.
It's 9 base runners plus the hit batters is 10 in just 2 2/3 innings of work, and he still is in a tie ball game.
Outside again. Wanted him to chase it again. He did not, and the count is full.
He especially did with the count 2-2. Now he's gone full. The runners will be in motion. And a base hit to the outfield will easily play 2 runners and possibly 3. Although the runner at first base, Alex Gonzalez, he could still score on a base hit, just a single.
Popped up in foul territory. Steinbach, the catcher, and the first baseman Coomer both coming over. It looked like Coomer had the play, neither able to make it, and that's a break for Stewart and the Blue Jays.
It is. Coomer had the best chance. Long run for the catcher. But Ron Coomer, he just didn't get to the top of the step. He's still looking for the step you see, and the ball just eludes him by a foot or 2.
That's a catchable ball, and that's a big break for Toronto.
Could turn out to be very big. You see a couple of players coming off the bench. They'll stand there and protect the players from falling in the dugout.
Count is full. Bases are loaded. That's high. And Brad Radke has walked in the go-ahead run. Here's Tony Fernandez. It is 4-3 Blue Jays, and the bases are still loaded for Sean Green. 35th run batted in for Shannon Stewart on the walk.
Tom Kelly just hung up the phone. He was talking to the bullpen. And Travis Baptiste, a left-handed pitcher, just recalled by the Minnesota Twins last week. He'll begin to get loose in that bullpen. This is very uncharacteristic of Brad Radke.
Green, ground ball up the middle. 5-3 as Graybeck's in. Here comes Gonzalez. And the Toronto Blue Jays take a 6-3 lead. 3 runs so far here in the third inning. John, all 3 coming with 2 down.
The Twins scored 3 runs against Dave Stieb with 2 outs in the second inning. The Blue Jays have regained the lead here in the third. Sinking fastball, good approach by Green, not trying to pull that pitch, going with it up the middle for 2 more runs batted in.
Runners at first and second, both go.
Double steal.
Well, you talked about a possible double steal earlier. It did not happen.
Well, the difference, Brian, that was with Sean Green at the plate when Shannon Stewart and Alex Gonzalez were aboard back in the second inning, just last inning. Well, here with Jose Canseco, he's a right-handed hitter. Much more difficult throw for the catcher because he's obstructed, his view is obstructed third base. A lot of times a catcher, especially a veteran catcher, will throw to second base and get the trail runner. But Sean Green has a good speed, had a good jump at first base, and he's in with his 29th stolen base.
As he tries to become a 30-30 player, so Green has 28 home runs, 29 stolen bases. Stewart has 42 stolen bases. Well, the first inning was an adventure for Brad Radke. He had a quiet second. Another adventure here in the third. 3 walks. Double, a single, 70 pitches through 2 2/3 innings, and he's still not out of it yet. Count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes to Canseco. Shannon Stewart's at third. Green's at second after the double steal. Stewart with 42. Green with 29 stolen bases. Canseco strikes out. The Blue Jays will strand 2, but they get 3 more runs. A bases loaded walk to Shannon Stewart and a 2-run single by Sean Green. The humidity's dropping, and it is a beautiful late Saturday afternoon here in Southern Ontario with John Cerutti. I'm Brian Williams. And for the second time this afternoon, John, Dave Stieb has been staked to a 3-0 lead. Blue Jays gave Stieb a 3-0 lead when they scored 3 in the first inning. He gave up 3 in the top of the second. And here in the top of the fourth inning, he'll face Terry Steinbach, the catcher, the number 8 hitter, Ochoa, the right fielder, and the shortstop, Mears. It is a called strike 1 to Steinbach.
Dave Stieb has to break that pattern of that crooked number 3 every other inning. Boy, what a great pitch that was. Fastball was about a foot outside and had a lot of late movement. Came back and caught the outside corner. That's why Dave, earlier in his career, had more confidence in throwing the breaking ball as he did there.
Foul ball.
Dave Stieb would also often get counts of 2-2 and 3-2 and throw the breaking ball. So you look at this ball at the bat of Steinbeck. Unfortunately for the Blue Jays, this ball is just foul, clearly a foot foul. Ball had gone by third base, so it's the third base umpire's call.
And you saw Al Clark raise both arms, did it very quickly. There was no hesitation on his part.
And he also will verbally let the third baseman know that it's foul, even though Tony Fernandez went ahead and continued his motion through the ball across the diamond. But Dave Stieb has so much life, and he still is showing that on that fastball. Oftentimes it was hard for him to keep it in the strike zone. Ernie Witt used to say he would set up right in the middle of the plate and just ask Dave to throw it right there to the middle, and it would run to either corner.
0-2 pitch is strike 3. That's the first strikeout this afternoon for Dave Stieb. It's the first out, the leadoff hitter here in the 4th inning.
Now get a 28-point fall checkup, plus oil, lube, and filter, tire rotation, and a free jug of washer fluid, all for just $29.95. Only at Canadian Tire.
One down in the Minnesota 4th, and here's the right fielder, Alex Ochoa.
Another running fastball, and for Ochoa, that's strictly a defensive move right there.
Yeah, that's self-preservation, that move.
And he's thinking of dropping down a bunt with Tony Fernandez playing behind the bag at third base.
Ochoa looks at Stieb and now walks slowly to first base. The home plate umpire Jim Joyce beside him for the first 10 or 15 feet. That's the second hit batsman here this afternoon.
Yeah, there was a time in Dave Stieb's career, if a bunter tried to bunt for a base hit, he would take exception to that, although this is a breaking ball. And Ochoa, he'll realize that if he doesn't immediately. And you could hear Dave Stieb, he yelled, "Look out," when the ball was halfway to home plate. He knew it slipped. That was completely unintentional.
Two players hit by pitches, both the number 9 hitters. Gonzalez, who came in to score in the 3rd inning. Ochoa here in the 4th. One down runner at first, and back to the top of the order for Mears. That's ball 1.
Well, that hit batter of Gonzalez by Radke hurt him in that 3-run 3rd inning. But again, that was unintentional, as was the pitch to Ochoa. If you're going to hit a batter, more times than not, you're going to throw a fastball. You're not going to hang a breaking ball, as Dave Stieb did. Actually, it just slipped out of his hand. And right now, he looks to be struggling with his release point. He has thrown some balls out of the strike zone, the fastball up, and the breaking ball inside to right-handed batters. Although it appears he has more movement on his pitches than he did in the first couple of innings. Maybe a sign that he's loosening up a little bit.
Speaking of loosening up, there appears to be activity now in the Toronto bullpen.
Tim Johnson, as we look at Nerio Rodriguez begin throwing, Tim Johnson before the game, he said that he expects Dave Stieb to be able to throw 90 to 100 pitches here this afternoon. Now in that one start, as we see, he has 70 pitches, and like Radke, he has thrown a lot here in just 3+ innings. 3 1/3 now. In the start against the Chicago White Sox back on the 15th of July, Dave Stieb threw 105 pitches over 6 innings of work. A 5-2 loss to the White Sox. And remember, he was starting all the way up until the time he was recalled back in the middle of June. Started at Dunedin at A-ball, and then was promoted to AAA Syracuse. He had 9 starts there, at a record of 5-4 after a 2-0 record in the Florida State League with the Dunedin Blue Jays.
3-2 pitch is fouled back. And back to first base will come Alex Ochoa.
Tim Johnson would like to get a couple more innings out of Dave Stieb. Usually 90 to 100 pitches translates into at least 5, usually 6 innings for a starter.
Ochoa on the 3-2 count again running, and again comes back to first base. Just a reminder, this weekend series will wind up tomorrow afternoon. We saw Nerio Rodriguez warming in the Blue Jays bullpen. Frank Rodriguez will start for Minnesota against Roger Clemens. The game's on TSN. Dan Shulman and Buck Martinez will have it for you at 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific. Ochoa running again, throw down to second, and he is in. The batter, Mears, strikes out. So the Blue Jays do not get 2.
Third consecutive pitch that Ochoa is running on, and this time he's just ahead of the tag. Darren Fletcher has had trouble throwing out runners over the last couple of weeks. That's the 14th runner to be successful in 15 attempts. Kansas City Royals, they came to town and they ran on Darren Fletcher 5 of 6 times successful. In fact, the only runner he threw out was Mike Sweeney, the catcher for the Kansas City Royals. And consequently, his average is down to 25% of throwing out runners, and as I've said before, the average in the major leagues is about 30%. And that's about where Darren Fletcher was up until this spell of where he's had trouble throwing runners out.
Gates. High hopper. Good throw by Gonzalez to get Brent Gates at first base. The Twins retired here in the top of the 4th. We head to the bottom of the 4th in Toronto. It is 6-3 Blue Jays.
4th inning, the Blue Jays leading 6-3 here at SkyDome. Mel Queen, the pitching coach, a couple of pointers for Dave Stieb. This is very common for pitchers. If they open up that left side for a right-handed pitcher, their right arm drags. And he's telling Dave Stieb, make sure you get that arm in the right slot, your right arm in the right slot. And you do that by keeping that front shoulder closed, or at least closed until you're ready to throw the ball. And a couple of those pitches that we saw in the early part of that inning, that he was getting up and away to left-handed batters, up and in to the right-handed batters, he was doing just that, opening up too soon, and consequently the ball is out of the strike zone.
Speaking of being out of the strike zone, Radke, uncharacteristically, with not great control here this afternoon, hit Gonzalez. He's walked several batters. Delgado and the first baseman Ron Coomer not able to handle the ball. Carlos Delgado, the leadoff hitter, is on here in the bottom of the 4th inning.
Now they gave him a base hit on that ball to the opposite side, glove side of Coomer.
What do you think? It's a base hit?
Well, I'd give him a base hit. Coomer out of position. He is a third baseman. Normally, although he has played first base. David Ortiz, who took a ball off his right hand, off the palm of his right hand last night. It's a little bit bruised, a little tight. He's not in the lineup today.
First pitch is a ball to Jose Cruz Jr., who's 2 for 2 this afternoon. Single to right field, driving in a run in the first inning. Double to center field in the 3rd inning.
Jose has hit safely in 23 of the 26 games that he's played in August for a .375 average.
Throw down to first, and back is Delgado. It's not close.
And consequently, that hot month that he's having here, Jose Cruz has raised his average from .211, is where it stood on July 31st. He was recalled, remember, back on the 30th of July, and he now has the average at .272. It's pretty hot stuff.
Blue Jays have collected 9 hits here this afternoon. An infield hit by Delgado, number 9. Blue Jays had 5 hits back in the first inning when they scored 3 runs. Cruz hits this to deep center field. Lawton just watches it go. Again, a Blue Jay takes it off Windows Restaurant. It was Green last night. It is Cruz here this afternoon.
Just to the left of straightaway center field and about the same height as we saw yesterday off the bat of Shawn Green, the second pane of glass at Windows Restaurant. Big smiles for Cruz, big smile by Delgado as he greeted him at home plate. And that's going to be all for Brad Radke.
Cruz with his 8th home run of the year, 35th and 36th runs batted in. First home run here this afternoon. The Blue Jays had 3 when they won. They came from behind to win last night by a score of 7-6. It is 8-3 Toronto. We have one more look at the 8th home run of the year by Jose Cruz Jr. Well, during the break, all of us up here in the booth talking about the fact that that looked like a lazy fly ball. The roof is open, but still tremendous carry. There was great sound on it.
Yes, he really got all of that ball to straightaway center field. And last night, the roof was closed, and the ball has generally carried better with the roof closed here at SkyDome. During batting practice, the roof was closed. The ball was jumping out. The guys were putting on a display, especially Shawn Green and Carlos Delgado. Well, the roof was opened about 15 to 20 minutes before game time. And did not affect that ball at all. Boy, that ball was hammered to center field.
So for the second game in a row, John, and a young Blue Jay puts a ball off Windows Restaurant. That's ball 1 to a veteran Blue Jay, Tony Fernandez. Last night in the 5th inning was Shawn Green. Here this afternoon in the 4th inning, it's Jose Cruz.
The left-hander Travis Baptiste making his second start in his second stint, or second appearance, I should say.
Fernandez batting from the right side for the first time, pops it up into right field. Charging is the right fielder Ochoa. Made a real nice play earlier in the ballgame to get Delgado in the first inning. Here's the line on Brad Radke.
And that's ugly. And that's something you don't expect from a pitcher of the quality of Brad Radke, although the second half he has really struggled here, especially with the hits. A lot of pitches in the middle of the strike zone. 3 walks, very uncharacteristic. And a rough afternoon for the right-hander.
That's just the first out. Here's Fletcher. Ground ball. That's a fair ball. Coomer flips to Baptiste covering at first base. 2 down. Well, Cruz Jr. with that home run. Single in the first inning. Double in the 3rd inning. Home run in the 4th inning. So he needs a triple to become only the 2nd Blue Jay in history to hit for the cycle. The only one to do it? Kelly Gruber. Kelly Gruber. Strike 1 to the second baseman, the number 8 hitter Graybeck. So Toronto with 3 runs in the first inning, held off the board in the second, 3 in the third, 2 more so far here in the 4th inning. It's hard hit but foul. Blue Jays with 10 hits so far this afternoon. When they won 7-6 last night, they had a total of 10 hits in the entire game. And Woody Williams winning his 10th game of the year. Dan Plesac with his 3rd save.
Most of these Blue Jay hitters are familiar with Travis Baptiste. He was the property of the Toronto Blue Jays, originally signed by the Blue Jays, and he was acquired in a minor league draft by the Twins back in '96.
Nice stop by Todd Walker, but he won't make a play at first base, and that'll be a hit. An infield hit with 2 down for Graybeck. 6th hit of the afternoon for the Minnesota Twins. So the Blue Jays have a runner at first.
Blue Jays have been swinging the bat so well in the month of August. And this is a good example of why. They've been taking pitches away from them the other way. They're not pulling off those pitches. Grayback goes with this. Walker makes a great play, but good speed by Grayback, hustling down that line.
Gonzalez hits this to left field. The left fielder, Cordova, is there. And that's all for the Blue Jays here in the 4th inning. They get 2 more runs. Leadoff hit by Delgado and the 2-run homer by Cruz Jr. 8-3 Toronto, top of the 5th inning. Paul Molitor leads it off, followed by Matt Lawton and Marty Cordova. Molitor 1 for 2 here this afternoon. Drove in 4 runs last night. A lot of Canadian fans wondering if it's the last time they will see the Hall of Famer this weekend as a player in this country. I understand next year you're going to be the assistant commissioner of baseball.
Well, I guess there are a lot of rumors flying around these days. A lot of that probably stems from actually my first 2 bosses in baseball, Mr. Seelig and Mr. Beeson, both being in the commissioner's office now. Really haven't had any substantive talks with them. Just some very general comments about their desire to bring out some players on board in the future to help bridge some of the gaps between players and management. And if they ever approach me, I would seriously have to consider that.
As of today, you planning to play next year? Are you undecided?
I guess I would probably tell you I'm leaning not to play, but I'm holding off on any final decisions until I have a few weeks after the season to kind of take the time and clear my head and see what path I want to go down as far as my future. But right now I'd have to say I'm leaning towards not coming back, but I'll hold off the right to change my mind.
Molitor down on strikes, a called 3rd strike. I get the feeling, and I've known Molitor for several years, that this is his last year as a player.
Too. I think so. He was close last year. Remember, he was in contention. He was interviewed for the managerial job here in Toronto. That was a consideration. He still was undecided going into the last offseason whether or not he was going to play again. He is from Minnesota. He likes playing in Minnesota, likes playing for Tom Kelly, and that factored in his decision to play 1 more year. And who's to say, he may play again next year, but I agree with you, Brian.
Lawton with a count of 3 balls and 1 strike. Look at this. Stieb has struck out 3 of the last 5 batters. Steinbach, Mears, Molitor leading it off. This one's hit to left field. Back goes Stewart. And it's a home run for Matt Lawton.
Another example of the ball carrying. Well, not to take anything away from Matt Lawton. That's his 16th home run this year. He has a lot of power. Very compact person or player. Very strong.
Lawton with his solo home run, and the Twins trail 8-4. But when that left the bat,
yeah, it looked like a fly ball.
Most people in the park, I think, thought it was a fly ball as well. This is hit to right field. This one will not leave the park. Just at the warning track. John Green, 2 down. And a reminder, at the conclusion of this afternoon's game, we will select the Chevrolet Player of the Game. A cash donation will be made in his name to the K for Kids Blue Jays Charitable Foundation. Blue Jays about hit the Twins 11-6. Toronto leads 8-4, 2 down for Minnesota here in the 5th inning. And the batter's the second baseman, Todd Walker. Gonzalez couldn't make a play, and with 2 down, Walker is on at first base. That is a base hit for Walker, 7th hit this afternoon for the Minnesota Twins. So Molitor down swinging, Lawton with that solo shot. Cordova flies out to right, and Walker with a single past the diving Alex Gonzalez.
A hanging breaking ball from Stieb, takes it the other way, and that's the first hit for Todd Walker in this series, although he's hit the ball hard now 6 times. lined out to left field in his first at bat, hit the fly ball on the nose to center field in his second.
Let's go back to what I was talking about before Lawton hit the home run. Stieb had struck out 3 of 5. He had no strikeouts in the first 3 innings.
I think he's just getting a little looser, and despite that pitching flaw where he's opening up his shoulder.
Here's Delgado chasing it over towards the stands. Will not have a play, but that young lady does.
Mel Queen pointed out the fact that Dave needs to keep that front shoulder closed. He's been doing it here in this inning. You can't fault him with the pitch he threw to Lawton. It was a pretty good pitch. He went the other way, hit the home run into the Blue Jays bullpen. And the pitch he threw to Lawton, or excuse me, to Todd Walker, he hung. It was a hanging breaking ball.
That is a called 3rd strike. 4th strikeout of the afternoon for Dave Stieb. We'll take a look at that 3rd strike one more time. The Twins, though, get a 4th run on the home run to left field by Matt Lawton. Happy and loose Dave Stieb talking with Woody Williams, who won his 10th game of the year last night.
Big strikeout to end that 5th inning for Dave Stieb. You saw him leap off the mound, pump his fist as he headed towards the dugout. I think that may be all for Dave Stieb. Rodriguez continues to throw in the bullpen, and Dave Stieb has thrown 92 pitches here in this ball game.
Stewart leads it off. Top of the order here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Stewart, Green, and Canseco. Stewart is 1 for 1 with 2 walks. In the 3rd, he walked, bringing in a run. At Detroit, Tony Clark has hit his 28th home run of the year to score 2 in the 6th. Tigers trail the Tampa Bay Devil Rays by a score of 8-4. Stewart hits this to right field. Back goes Ochoa. And again, the ball carries here this afternoon. A home run for Shannon Stewart. Take anything away from Stewart or Matt Lawton, but again, that looked to be almost a lazy fly ball.
These balls are hit very high. Good swing by Stewart. You can see how he looks up. Very high off the bat. Now there's not much wind here at SkyDome. Very little breeze, but the ball does seem to be carrying well.
There's Brent Gates in foul territory. Green is retired for the first out here in the bottom of the 5th inning. So Shannon Stewart, with his 5th home run of the year, 36th run batted in, makes it 9-4 Toronto. Blue Jays have hit the Minnesota Twins 12-7. And speaking of home runs, with 1 down and the bases empty, there's Canseco. Canseco came up last night with Green on base. Green reached on an error by the first baseman Ortiz. Canseco delivered his 37th home run of the year.
You may have saw Jose as he stepped in the batter's box having a conversation with Terry Steinbach. Remember, those two were teammates. Those great days in Oakland back in those championship clubs. They won a world championship in 1989. The World Series that was halted by that earthquake in San Francisco.
Steinbach's seen more than a few home runs by Canseco. Usually from a different position.
Yes, I was going to say he's seen him from that position the last few years, but he saw a lot from the dugout in Oakland, and times he might have been on base, although Steinbach usually batted behind Canseco in the order, or usually did.
Popped up right side. Here comes Coomer into foul territory and into the sunshine. Hats off, but he makes the play. 2 down as Canseco is retired here in the 5th inning. For Toronto with a run in here in the 5th inning and 2 down, and here's the first baseman Delgado. He was on base after an infield hit in the 4th inning when Cruz hit the 2-run home run off Windows Restaurant. Delgado has hit a few home runs off Windows Restaurant.
He's hit a couple over Windows Restaurant.
High behind third is Gates and makes the play. That's all for the Blue Jays in the 5th inning. They get a 9th run on the solo home run to right field by Shannon Stewart. Dave Stieb receiving congratulations in the dugout as he pitches 5 innings, gives up 7 hits, 4 runs, all of them earned. He could be the winning pitcher here this afternoon as Toronto leads Minnesota by a score of 9-4.
Tim Johnson and Mel Queen, they made a decision in the final out in the 5th inning that Dave Stieb would leave the ball game with 92 pitches. And maybe an opportunity, Brian, as pointed out by our producer Don Pepin, that Tim Johnson could have stayed with Stieb at least for a batter, or even send him to the mound and then make the pitching change, and would allow the hometown crowd to give Dave Stieb a nice round of applause. Now, this has been a long enough game as it is. The way it's moved on, 13 runs here through 5 innings.
Last night, Johnson was questioned, and we questioned him about leaving Woody Williams in too long.
And he talked about the importance of Woody getting that 10th victory, and the fact that Woody has been pressing.
Terry Steinbach hits this to right center field. Cruz is there. Nerio Rodriguez on in relief of Stieb retires the leadoff hitter here in the 6th inning. There's a look at Woody Williams. He agreed with that. He said, look, I did want to get my 10th win, but he said, I couldn't believe the pitch count when I looked back. 134, he told us this afternoon. He said, wow, was I tired. Ochoa fouls it back for strike 1.
Yeah, I said that's the most that he has thrown in his career in a major league ball game. And he said, yeah, John, I feel it today. Just those extra 20 or so pitches. It's one of the few times that the Blue Jays have come back and scored some runs for Woody when he's left trailing. In fact, it's the only time he's left a ball game and knew he was not going to return, and the Blue Jays scored to give him the lead.
Oh, and 2. He reaches, little comebacker handled by Rodriguez. He'll go to first. 2 up and 2 down as Ochoa is retired. So Nerio Rodriguez retires Ochoa.
And this is a good opportunity for the young right-hander to come in and get some work. He needs to pitch. He has not pitched well since being acquired from Baltimore in the trade for Juan Guzman. He really deserves to be starting. That's what they need him to be. Of course, the Blue Jays have 5 starters and 6 if you count Dave Stieb. Very live arm. Good fastball, 92 miles per hour.
That drops in front of a diving Sean Green. Cruz goes to the wall to retrieve it. Pat Mears is heading for third. And with 2 down here in the Minnesota 6th inning, Pat Mears is on with a triple.
Sean Gray makes a good effort, but this ball clearly was going to drop in front of him. You see it. He dived for this ball really once it bounced, then he left his feet. And with 2 outs, that's a good attempt. Even though the ball gets by him, allows Mears to go all the way to third base.
9-4 Toronto. Twins with 2 down, runner at third. First pitch, a ball to the Minnesota third baseman Brent Gates.
That's his second best pitch. That's a straight changeup. He's still working on his breaking ball. He does throw a slider. He's experimented with a curveball. It doesn't have the consistency in that breaking ball. He's much more comfortable with a changeup. It's a great pitch to complement a good fastball. The secret or the key to throwing a good changeup is to have the same arm action as you do on your fastball. And that's what the hitters are swinging at. They see the arm action.
There's Mears at third after the 2-out triple. 2-2 to Gates is high and inside. Count is full. Is back out of play. The Blue Jays wind up this homestand tomorrow afternoon. And head to Kansas City after a day off on Monday. Games Tuesday and Wednesday.
Come right back home to SkyDome for a 4-game set against the Boston Red Sox. We'll have Friday night's ball game, and right now it appears that Roger Clemens will start Friday's game. Tim Johnson was saying he's going to keep Roger on his 5th day.
Rodriguez charging, but it's a foul ball. Well, like last night, of course, Pat Hentgen was saying he would get the start next Friday.
Well, normally that would be a start with the day off on Monday. Everyone would get an extra day's rest. But we'll have to wait and see how his shoulder responds to the rest the next couple of days. I'm sure he'll try to throw on the side early part of the week. He would like to start in that series against the Red Sox. But Tim Johnson also said the way Roger Clemens has been pitching, Roger has 6 remaining starts. He'll pitch here tomorrow against the Minnesota Twins, and then 5 after that. And he has been dominating really for the last 3 months. They'd like to keep him on his 5th day, given this situation with Pat Hentgen.
Remember, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? You said Clemens right now close to or the leader for the Cy Young, and I said, I'm not so sure.
I said he had a chance.
Yeah, he's got more than a chance now in the last couple of weeks.
He's right in the thick of it now. Absolutely what he's done.
Called strike 3. Rodriguez gets Gates, so the 2-out triple by Mears goes for naught. We head to the bottom of the 6th inning, 9-4 Toronto. Bottom of the 6th inning, the left-hander Travis Baptiste on in relief of the starter Brad Radke, and he'll face Cruz, Fernandez, and Fletcher. Cruz was the last batter that Radke faced in the 4th inning, and Cruz hit the 2-run homer with Delgado on base.
A triple away from the cycle for Jose Cruz. Singled in his first at bat, doubled in the 3rd inning, in his second hit that 2-run home run in the 4th inning. his second home run. Big cut by the switch hitter. He looks like a different player than we saw in the first half of the season, or at least up until the time he was demoted to Syracuse. So much more aggressive at the plate. The Blue Jays really could have used the Cruz we've seen here in August, and I think this is the real Cruz Jr. in that first half, Brian.
Johnny's walked. Leadoff walk here in the 6th inning. He likely will get. In fact, we'll get another at bat. So Cruz on with a leadoff walk here in the 6th inning, and it brings up Tony Fernandez against Travis Baptiste.
This is the second stint for the left-hander Travis Baptiste. He was just recalled from AAA Salt Lake 3 days ago. He made his major league debut back on the 1st of this month against Kansas City. That's, remember, right after the Minnesota Twins at the trading deadline.
That's into the gap. Lawton, the center fielder, plays it off the wall. Here comes Cruz. 10th run of the ball game. It is 10-4 Toronto. Tony Fernandez with a run batted in, his 51st of the year.
Baptiste drops down on that last pitch, but still threw it right in the middle of the plate. And this is good base running by Jose Cruz. As he picks up the ball, he realizes he's in the gap. Turns on the Jets. Eddie Rodriguez, the third base coach, with the windmill at third. And he scores easily the 10th run of the game for the Blue Jays.
Darren Fletcher. It's the only J this afternoon, John, without a hit. Toronto with 10 runs on 13 hits. Minnesota 4 runs on 8 hits. Baptiste makes the play unassisted at first base, and over to third base goes Tony Fernandez. Again today, with the Cardinals losing to the Atlanta Braves, Mark McGuire, who showed the incident to you earlier, was thrown out of that ball game by the home plate umpire Stan Holbrook, along with manager Tony La Russa, pitching coach Dave Duncan, for arguing a called third strike the first time up. 1 down. Fernandez at third. And here's Grayback. The Little League World Series, Toms River, New Jersey, defeating Kashima, Japan, and we, of course, congratulate Langley, British Columbia, defeated by Kashima in the semifinals. Jeff Duda with a great job pitching. Manager Brian Sargent with an outstanding ball team from British Columbia. Grayback hits this to right. Back goes Ochoa. And for the second time this afternoon, makes a fine play in right field. Fernandez comes in to score. Run batted in for Grayback. 11-4 Toronto. 20th run batted in for Grayback. And with 2 down, and 2 more runs in here in the 6th inning. Here's Gonzalez. Infield hit in the 2nd inning, extending his consecutive games hitting streak to 12. Talked about Langley, British Columbia, John. I understand the Blue Jays have invited the team here tomorrow to watch Roger Clemens pitch. That is if they are able to make it here in time from Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, what a thrill. What a great year. Great season. Jeff Duda, 17 strikeouts. That is a Little League World Series record. Very disappointing loss, but they have so much to be proud of. And Tom's Rivers, New Jersey, congratulations to them. That's the hometown of Al Leiter.
I didn't know that.
Got some pretty good pitchers.
Where is it? Is it near New York City?
Not that close. I'm not sure exactly where it is in New Jersey.
1-2 inside. We talked about Duty yesterday. I mean, put it into perspective. What do you have, 70-mile-an-hour fastball?
Yes, he was clocked 70 miles an hour in the 8th inning after throwing well over 100 pitches. 17 strikeouts.
The shortstop muted. That's all for Toronto here in the 6th inning. We'll talk more about Langley, BC as the afternoon goes on. A couple of more runs. RBI double by Fernandez. The sacrifice fly by Craig Grayback. Sun just going below the stadium, west side of SkyDome, with the roof open on what is now a Saturday evening. And the Blue Jays with an 11-4 lead over the Minnesota Twins. Paul Molitor leads it off against Nerio Rodriguez. Dave Stieb went 5 innings, stands to be the winning pitcher. Molitor will be followed by Matt Lawton and Marty Cordova. Well, let's put up some numbers for Paul Molitor. He passed Willie Mays this week with a double against the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. This one is hit into the left field corner. It bounces around. Stewart finally picks it up, and Paul Molitor has a leadoff double here in the 7th inning. Molitor with 4 runs batted in last night.
And another double, his 601st in his career. One of only 3 players in Major League history with 600 doubles, 500 stolen bases, and 3,000 hits, along with Ty Cobb and Hannes Wagner. This ball into the corner. Ball kicks around. He had thoughts of going to third, but wisely held up at second base.
That's a ball to Matt Lawton, with Molitor in scoring position at second base. John, we were talking about Langley, British Columbia, losing yesterday 3-2 to Kashima, Japan. Kashima losing in the championship to Toms River, New Jersey this afternoon. Langley trying to become only the 2nd Canadian team to reach the finals. Stony Creek, Ontario, which is just outside Hamilton, did it in 1965. But as Rodriguez works to Lawton here, none out, Molitor at second. Put it into perspective. A youngster like Jeff Duda throwing a 70-mile-an-hour fastball.
Well, a much closer distance. I think it translated to about a 90-mile-an-hour fastball at the major league level. And it's interesting, he wears the number 21 on his back, and he immediately, when I watched the ball game yesterday, immediately thought that, or actually it was 2 days ago, on Thursday, that he wears it in recognition of Roger Clemens, one of the greatest strikeout pitchers. I assume that's the case. I don't know for sure.
And again, the Blue Jays have invited Brian Sargent, the manager, and his Langley, British Columbia team here to Toronto for the game tomorrow afternoon to see Roger Clemens pitch against Frank Rodriguez.
Yeah, what a thrill that would be for them.
Blue Jays officials say they are not sure whether or not Langley can get here in time from Williamsport, but if they can make it, they will be honored here tomorrow afternoon.
I would think that would be somewhere around 10, 12-hour ride.
Oh! You could hear Lawton say, ow! Rodriguez hits Lawton. Ochoa was hit by Stieb in the 4th inning. Gonzalez was hit by Radke in the 3rd inning. 3rd player hit by a pitch here this afternoon, puts runners at 1st and 2nd with none out here in the 7th inning. Marty Cordova's the batter. Cordova's 1 for 3, single to center in the second inning. Rodriguez is inside for ball 1. Minnesota trailing 3-0 in the second inning, tied the game at 3. Blue Jays, though, with the game tied at 3, scored 3 in the third, 2 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, 2 in the sixth. The fourth Minnesota run came on the home run by Lawton in the 5th inning.
Blue Jays lead by 7 here in the 7th inning, but the last thing you want to do is start walking batters. He just plunked Matt Lawton. He was trying to come inside and missed by a good foot. Right now he falls behind Cordova 0-3-0. Misses with ball 4. As a pitcher, you just want to throw strikes, and I'm sure that's what Tim Johnson and Mel Queen sitting on the Blue Jay dugout. That's all they're concerned with Rodriguez. He has a good live fastball. Make them hit their way on. Don't do them any favors, and don't allow them to get back in this game. Bill Risley, another right-hander, begins throwing. I don't think Tim Johnson will wait that long to get Risley if Rodriguez continues with his control problems.
Bases loaded. Molitor's at third. Matt Lawton's at second. And Marty Cordova on at first. None out. Here's Walker, who finally singled in the 5th inning. He's been in a slump. He is overdue, but as John pointed out, he hit the ball hard last night. 3 long fly balls to center field. Wow, they go down to second for 1. And that's all that the Blue Jays will get. The Twins get a run as Molitor comes in to score. It's 11-5. Delgado on the ground ball by Walker. Over to third is Matt Lawton.
Again, the ball hit sharply by Walker. Delgado thinking about a double play, but a little bit of a wide throw at second. And Lawton batting from the, or excuse me, Walker batting from the left side. Tough to double up.
Ron Coomer bats with runners at first and third. Runner at third is Matt Lawton. And the runner at first is Todd Walker. Walker reached on a fielder's choice, so there is no run batted in. Excuse me, there is a run batted in. Molitor, the 5th run of the game.
Rodriguez looking to keep the ball down, looking for a ground ball. No, not that pitch. Coomer has grounded into a double play 20 times this season, the most in the American League. So you have the right man in the right situation if you're looking to get out of the inning with one pitch.
This game has slowed to a crawl, to put it mildly. Now just about 2.5 hours old. Minnesota batting here in the 7th inning. Delgado in foul territory. Lawton bluffed a move down the line at third, but he's back. Also back to first base is Todd Walker. Walker with the run batted in here so far in the 7th inning on the fielder's choice. Molitor started with a double. And eventually came in to score. So 2 down. Runners still at first and third for Terry Steinbach. Steinbach laces this into the gap. Stewart plays it off the wall. And the Minnesota Twins, with 2 down, get 2 more runs. They've scored 3 here in the 7th inning and now trail by 4, 11-7. And Tim Johnson has seen enough. So the Twins with 2 down, 3 more runs. They've had 10 hits. Minnesota trails 11-7. That's all for Nerio Rodriguez. Back after this. Third pitcher of the afternoon is on for the Toronto Blue Jays. It's the right-hander Bill Risley. Toronto with 11 runs on 13 hits. Minnesota 7 runs on 10 hits. Dave Stieb, if you're just joining us, went 5 innings, gave up 4 runs, all of them earned. 7 hits, struck out 4, and walked 2. We talked about Stieb being an intense pitcher. Here's a very intense pitcher, Bill Risley.
And they need to get him back on track. Tim Johnson was telling me before the game he'd like to get him in this game if possible. So he's allowed a lot of earned runs, a lot of walks. ERA close to 6. He has a very good arm. Throws very hard in the mid-90s when he's on. But he has struggled most recently. His last appearance was 3 days ago against Kansas City. He faced 2 batters, both singled and scored.
John, this was the type of game. It's interesting as we look at Steinbach at second base after the 2-out 2-run double. This kind of game that Dave Stieb was brought into on many occasions so far this season. Stieb, ironically, the starter here this afternoon. So Risley set to work to the number 9 hitter, Alex Ochoa. Interesting to see Steinbach at second base. Minnesota, a low-budget team, may cut the payroll from 27 to 20 million next year. Yet he still is glad to be home in Minnesota, a native Minnesotan, as is Paul Molitor. Said he enjoyed California, but the family prefers Minnesota. Likes that winter hunting. Ochoa hits this to center field. Back goes Cruz and makes a nice running play. Cruz, who hit a 2-run homer in the 4th inning, makes a fine play to retire Alex Ochoa. As we look at that catch one more time, the Twins get 3 more and trail 11-7. Team, neither pitcher from either team has managed to retire the side in order here this afternoon. In fact, the Minnesota Twins have stranded at least 1 runner in all 7 innings. This could turn out to be one of those 13-12.
Yes, a lot of crooked numbers.
14-11 ball games.
My scorebook looks like a checkerboard.
As the Blue Jays are batting, it is just the bottom of the 7th inning. It's the top of the order. Shannon Stewart, Sean Green, and Jose Canseco. Crowd announced here this afternoon at 30,101. Baptiste came on in the 4th inning with none out after Cruz hit the 2-run homer.
Baptiste has been a starter most of his minor league career. Pitched very well at AAA Salt Lake in the Pacific Coast League for the Buzz. That's the Salt Lake Buzz. And an 8.5 record, 3.12 ERA. And the PCL, the Pacific Coast League, is known as a hitter's league. A lot of smaller ballparks, high elevation, ball carries well.
Some great minor league names, aren't there?
Yeah. knows Shannon Stewart, Sean Green. They play together in the minor leagues. Former teammates.
Stewart, excuse me, John, in the first inning, stole first base, or second base, stole first, or from first. And in the third inning, as part of a double steal with Sean Green going to third base. So 2 stolen bases today for Stewart. He grounds one to Pat Mears. He's the first out here, but 2 stolen bases this afternoon. Shannon Stewart has 42. He goes ahead of Kenny Lofton into second place in the American League, a distant second behind Ricky Henderson. We mentioned the Blue Jays go to Kansas City for a series Tuesday. They return home to meet the Boston Red Sox. Good seats available. So Stewart again stole second base in the first inning, third base in the third inning, and he's retired here on the ground ball to Mears.
Sean Green with 3 RBI in this ball game. Triple in the first inning, a 2-run single in the third inning. He now has 29 RBIs this month, in the month of August. And if you're wondering, the Blue Jay record for most RBIs in a month is held by Dave Winfield. They lead the American League, Green and Delgado. Dave Winfield had, wow.
Wow, indeed. Another home run for Toronto. Sean Green with his third in 2 games against Minnesota. Home run of the year for Green. He's now at 29 man with a stolen base here this afternoon and a home run.
He is in some kind of groove. He's seen the ball so well against a left-hander. What a nice swing. Stays closed. Watch his front shoulders. Right shoulder stays closed until the bat head comes through. That is his 30th RBI in the month of August, and that comes against Baptiste, a fellow roommate. He roomed with him back in 1994 in Syracuse. Boy, this is just a perfect swing. Beautiful swing.
That's all for Baptiste. Todd Ritchie will be the new pitcher for the Minnesota Twins. Sean Green, 2 home runs last night, including 1 off windows. This afternoon stole his 29th base of the year as part of a double steal back in the third inning. And here in the 7th inning, it's his 29th home run of the year. What I say, John, this could be one of those 14-10, 13-11 ball games back after this. Seventh inning, the first pitch by Todd Ritchie to Jose Canseco was fouled straight back with 1 down. Canseco with 37 home runs, 28 stolen bases. Green, 29 home runs, 29 stolen bases. When Canseco and Green become 30-30 players, Toronto will be only the 3rd team in history to have 2 players with 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases. The 87 Mets, Darryl Strawberry and Howard Johnson. The 96 Colorado Rockies, Dante Bichette and Ellis Burks.
Todd Ritchie, a former first-round pick by the Minnesota Twins back in 1990. He was just called up from Salt Lake, AAA, when his contract was purchased on the 8th of this month, 3 weeks ago. Very live fastball, 93-mile-an-hour fastball. Throws a good curveball, sharp breaking curveball, and he has a changeup.
John, you were talking about the Blue Jays record for RBIs in a month when suddenly you said, wow, it's Green laced that. Dave Winfield had 32 in August of '92. So Green, we talk about him being close to being a 30-30 man. He needs only 2 runs batted in to equal the team record for runs in the month. Runs batted in a month.
And hitters take a lot more pride in the runs batted in than they do in the average and the home runs.
Charging is Brent Gates at third. On at first base is Canseco. That's a hit. 15th hit of the afternoon for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Ball hit off the end of the bat. Two-hopper to third base. Now Canseco got a good jump out of the box. You can see this ball belt high to Gates at third base, and perhaps a generous hit. Although I think the speed of Canseco was the determining factor. And now remember, Canseco just 2 stolen bases away from the 30-30 club. And even though they lead by 5 here in the 8th inning, a chance for Canseco to run.
That is ball 1 to Delgado. There have been 4 home runs in this game, 3 by Toronto. Cruz with a 2-run homer in the 4th. Stewart with a solo shot in the 5th. Green with that solo shot earlier in this inning. 1 for Minnesota. Matt Lawton a solo home run in the 5th inning.
Carlos Delgado is one, when you talk performance, he likes to talk about runs batted in. He has a career-high 95 runs batted in this season. Remember, he missed the first 3.5 weeks of the season back in April with the shoulder injury, coming off of surgery.
Ground ball right side. Walker goes down to second. And the force is all they'll get. So Canseco is retired. The second out here in the 7th inning. Delgado's on at first base, and the batter will be Jose Cruz.
Carlos Delgado was named American League Player of the Week last week for the 2nd time this season. He had 370 with 4 home runs, 10 RBIs. And when you start talking about the month of August and possible candidates, well, Jose Cruz Jr. is hitting about 380 this month. Sean Green, we know, now has 30 RBIs. Delgado's had a big month. Blue Jays are going to have 3 candidates that will be given consideration.
He needs a triple for the cycle. That's hit high to center field, but it's not deep. Matt Lawton barely has to move, and that's the 3rd out here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Toronto, though, gets another run. The home run by Sean Green. Blue Jays by 5. And 25 hits in this ball game so far this afternoon as we approach 7 Eastern. In case you missed it earlier, here's the big story in baseball today. Occurred in St. Louis. Mark McGuire against Tom Glavine. McGuire thinks it's ball 4. Stan Holbrook, the home plate umpire, says no, that is a called at 3rd strike. John Cerutti and I watched the game earlier today. I joked he may be thrown out of the game. You said no chance. He was thrown out. La Russa was thrown out. Dave Duncan was thrown out. Here it comes.
I think Latchman is going to regret that he didn't restrain McGuire more, keep him away from the home plate umpire.
So the numbers remain the same. Sammy Sosa plays tonight in Denver. John, people coming in and out. It's a Saturday evening here in the East, late afternoon in the West. Again, your thoughts. Do you give McGuire more leeway? I know it's Glavine, and he's not a September call-up type player, so the Atlanta pitchers get some leeway. Your thoughts?
Yes, you give him leeway, some latitude in arguing the call, but at the same time, as an umpire, you have to stay within the rules, and he stepped over the bounds. Whatever he said, most likely directed at the home plate umpire. The umpires don't mind if you question a call, whether it's a safer out call on the base pass or balls and strikes, even though you're not supposed to question balls and strikes. They'll give you a little latitude in that regard. But if you get personal and direct it at them, it's one thing to say that was a bad call. They'll accept that. But if you say you're bad, boy, you're going in a minute. And that's the difference. And obviously, McGuire used some of those words you shouldn't use.
Yeah, bad words.
Yeah, bad words associated and directed at the home plate umpire.
Pat Mears leads it off against Bill Risley. Mears, Gates, and Molitor. So you agree that Stan Holbrook, the umpire, made the right call?
Yes, I do. I do. That was a borderline pitch, but I admire him again, as I said earlier, for the guts he showed. He's going to catch a lot of abuse and a lot of criticism, I should say, in the following days. But the umpires, they have to call the game by their creed, if you will, and their rules.
Here's the 3-1 to Mears. Popped up back out of play. Now, the fans at Busch in St. Louis threw a few baseballs at Holbrook. For a while, maybe we thought the game would be forfeited. It did not happen, but can you imagine that was a soccer game? They'd be chasing Holbrook all the way to Kansas City.
A lot of balls were thrown. I guess the fans with better arms were able to throw them in towards home plate, towards the umpire. A lot of it was thrown out in the outfield.
A 3-2 pitch to Mears is fouled back, but you know, it's like in hockey. Stanley Cup Finals, overtime, late in the third period. You call the game the same as you do early. If it's flagrant, you have to call it. And as you pointed out, obviously McGuire did cross the line. When I hear the name Holbrook, and it occurs in Missouri, I always think of Hal Holbrook, who played Mark Twain.
The actor, yes.
That's hit to right field. Here comes Green to the line and makes a nice play. That's the second time this week Shawn Green has made a great diving catch along the warning track. He did it against Kansas City, and he does it here. A big smile in the 8th inning. Beautiful play.
A long run. That's great. Great to watch. Not only getting it done with the bat, doing it with the glove in the field as well.
One down. Here's Brent Gates. So Green with a great catch against the Royals. Great catch here against Minnesota. 2 home runs last night. 1 home run this afternoon. That's hit to left field. Should be no problem for Shannon Stewart, who now comes in and makes the play.
Brian, I had a nice discussion before today's game with Tim Johnson about several of the players, Green, Gonzalez, Delgado, Cruz, how well they've been playing. And it quickly came back to confidence, a matter of confidence. I said about a month ago, when these players were put in the lineup on a regular basis, in a regular position, it gives them a lot of confidence. Tim knows, as a former player, how important that is. We talked about how relaxed Cruz has been at the plate, how more relaxed and Green has been in right field. He's playing with a lot of enthusiasm. And it's simply confidence. These players are playing with a lot of confidence. That's why you see them making great catches. Jose Cruz has made some great catches in center field. Shawn Green is diving into foul territory, making catches. Shannon Stewart is stealing bases, getting on base. They're really excited about what's happening here in Toronto. Shannon Stewart is talking about playing winter ball. He will play winter ball this coming offseason to continue to improve on his game. In fact, Tim Johnson said there are going to be several players, some off of this major league roster, some of them at AAA, that will play winter ball, and he's going to encourage that. He says, and I will make a couple of trips down to winter ball to watch these players.
What did you say last night? Green said this is the best outfield he's been in here. Was it Green?
Yes, he made a comment about 2 weeks ago to a reporter here in Toronto that this is as good as outfield as he's been in. The reporter said, wait a minute, Joe Carter, you played with Joe Carter in left field and Devon White, Debo in center. And he said, well, I think Shannon Stewart has a little more speed than Carter, and Cruz is almost as good as Devon White.
Gonzalez. Paul Molitor's retired. Risley came on in relief of Rodriguez in the 7th inning. He's now retired 4 in a row as he retires the side in order here in the 8th inning. Bottom of the 8th inning, Tony Fernandez leads it off. Fernandez will be followed by Darren Fletcher and Craig Graybeck. That is a foul ball. We talked about Bill Risley being intense, maybe needing to relax, have a good outing. He came on in the 7th inning, got the final out, got Ochoa to fly out to center field. Great catch, running catch by Cruz, and then he retired the side in order in the 8th inning, so he's retired 4 in a row.
And a confidence booster for him.
A reminder tomorrow afternoon, TSN at 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific. Dan Sheldon and Buck Martinez will have the game. Roger Clemens against Frank Rodriguez. Blue Jays and Twins playing the final game of this 3-game weekend series. Count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes to Fernandez. RBI double by Fernandez came in the 2-run 6th inning. The Blue Jays took a 3-0 lead in the bottom of the 1st inning. Twins tied it at 3 in the 2nd. Toronto added 3 more in the 3rd, 2 more in the 4th, the run in the 5th, 2 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th. Blue Jays have hit 3 home runs. Minnesota 1. Fernandez drops this into left field. Marty Cordova cuts it off, turns and throws. Leadoff hit. 16th hit of the game for Toronto. 26th hit in all in this ball game. And Fernandez is on with a leadoff single here in the 8th inning.
Third hit on the game for Tony Fernandez. And the second one to the opposite field. This is an inside out swing. Ball inside corner. He dragged the head of the bat behind his hands.
John, here's the only Toronto starter without a hit this afternoon, the catcher Darren Fletcher. In Los Angeles, big game in the National League. Edgardo Alfonso with his 12th home run of the year. And the New York Mets have taken a 4-3 lead over the Los Angeles Dodgers. 2-run homer. Mets, Cubs, Giants all involved in that wild card fight. The National League wild card in the American League West division race, the 2 best races in baseball. Every Toronto player has a hit. Fletcher with a gapper. Here comes Fernandez. It is 13-7 Toronto on the RBI double by Darren Fletcher. That is the 17th Toronto hit.
Darren Fletcher didn't want to be left out. That was a breaking ball away, and you see how he waited back. Even though his right foot stepped a little bit towards first base, kept his hands back, drilled this ball into left center field. Tony running all the way. It's been a hit parade.
Here he comes home.
This ball game.
First pitch was a ball to Graybeck. Still none out here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Fernandez with the leadoff single. Fletcher with the RBI double. Fletcher's 46th run batted in. So all 9 starters with at least 1 hit Delgado and Gonzalez, as I look at my scorecard, the only Blue Jays without a run batted in. Braybeck brought home Fernandez with a sacrifice fly to right field in the 6th inning. Hits this one to right field. Ochoa is there. Tagging and coming over to third base is Darren Fletcher. One down here in the 8th inning. The batter's Alex Gonzalez. Gonzalez with an infield hit in the 2nd inning to extend his consecutive games hitting streak to 12 last night. Single, a triple, and a run scored. Chance to bring home Fletcher from third. One down. If you're joining us and wondering about Dave Stieb, 5 innings, 5 complete innings, gave up 4 runs, all of them earned. 7 hits, walked 4, and struck out 2 on 92 pitches. Huge cut by Gonzalez, and the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Notice these protective devices that Alex Gonzalez wears in the back of his hands and attached to his batting gloves. It's becoming more and more popular in the major leagues to protect the batter from fastballs, pitches that come in on their hands. I really think it was popularized or used initially by Jeff Bagwell, who suffered a couple of broken bones in his right hand, knocking him out of seasons. One year he had a potential MVP season going. He wears that. You see more and more right-handed power hitters wearing that.
2-2 pitch, and that's all for Gonzalez. So Todd Ritchie strikes out Alex Gonzalez. 2 down here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Darren Fletcher at third, back to the top of the order for Shannon Stewart. Stewart with a good afternoon. Been on base 4 times, singled and scored in the 1st inning, walked in the 2nd inning, walked in the 3rd, solo home run in the 5th inning. And speaking of that home run, here it is, 5th inning. Home run by Shannon Stewart. And as Stewart bats here in the 8th. The 0-1 pitch is a called strike 2.
Brian, the Blue Jays came into this ball game 10th in the American League in hitting, batting .265 with the 17 hits now. They are now up to .268. That would move them into 9th place, just 1 point behind the Minnesota Twins. A very respectable position given the fact that they had such a slow start.
Here comes Fletcher. Toronto Blue Jays lead this ball game by a score of 14-7.
Todd Ritchie has a very live arm.
Pass ball, though, John.
Yeah, I was going to say this was a pitch that should have been caught by Steinbeck. Well, just went off the end of his glove. He didn't move the mitt in time. And Fletcher scores the 14th run for the Blue Jays.
So the Toronto catcher scores on a passed ball charged to the veteran Minnesota catcher.
Carlos Delgado with a big smile and laugh.
Gatto obviously talking about Fletcher's blinding speed.
So that's what's going to take. The ball has to go all the way to the backstop for you to get in there.
Fletcher saying, hang on, did I get in?
Yeah, he said, it reminded him, I tagged from second base on that fly ball to right field. Now he's describing how he hit that ball to left center field in his double.
1-2 to Stewart is fouled off.
So much more relaxed when, of course, it's easy when you scored 14 runs on 17 hits, but it's really been that way for the month of August. Very enthusiastic, relaxed atmosphere with this Toronto ball club.
Stewart sends it deep to right field. It's off the wall. Ochoa finally picks it up, and Stewart will hold at second. So Shannon Stewart with a 2-out double here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Ball sent down in the corner. Now he could have gone to third base, but Eddie Rodriguez with 2 outs quickly put on the stop sign as he rounded second base. Now Shannon most likely will not get another at bat, but he is just a triple away from the cycle. Sean Green is a double away, and we already know that Jose Cruz Jr. is a triple away. What an afternoon by the young outfield.
And a balloon is now drifting out into the infield. Brent Gates isn't moving. A running grab. John, you talk about this young Toronto outfield. Stewart is 3 for 4. Cruz is 3 for 4. And Green is 3 for 5.
And each of them with a home run. Sean Green, believe me, he knows he needs a double for the cycle. He's thinking just that. Hit something a ball hard in the alley.
That's hit hard to left field, but it will not be deep enough. High. In comes Marty Cordova. That's all for the Blue Jays here in the bottom of the 8th inning. But they get one more run. Fletcher coming in on the passed ball, charged to Terry Steinbach. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Toronto Blue Jays. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of the Toronto Blue Jays and Major League Baseball. With John Cerutti, I'm Brian Williams. Steve Sinclair is on to pitch for the Blue Jays, the Victoria native. And here in the 9th inning, he'll face Matt Lawton, Marty Cordova, and Todd Walker. We kidded about Darren Fletcher coming down from third in that passed ball. Delgado saying it had to go all the way to the fence. Obviously, Fletcher's winded because Kevin Brown is the new catcher.
Fletcher's caught a lot of pitches this afternoon, not as many as Terry Steinbeck, but the Blue Jays pitchers, Steve, Rodriguez, Risley, threw a lot of pitches themselves.
Minnesota needs a converted touchdown to tie this ball game as it's 14-7. It's been a long afternoon. I think I said Blue Jays got 1 in the 8th. They got 2 in the 8th. RBI double by Fletcher. And then, of course, Fletcher coming in to score on that passed ball.
If they score a touchdown, they might attempt a 2-point conversion for the lead.
That's true. I never thought of that. Hey, speaking of Minnesota and touchdowns, a lot of people like the Vikings. Now you're from the Tampa area. They got a pretty good football team down there.
Well, much better the last couple of years and in years past. The Buccaneers with a tougher schedule this year.
2-2 to Lawton. Count is full. Lawton with the lone Minnesota home run. Solo home run in the 5th inning. There have been 3 home runs for the Toronto Blue Jays. Stewart with a solo homer. Green with a solo homer. and Cruz with a 2-run homer. We talked about Langley, British Columbia. Steve Sinclair very much interested in that Langley team. Here's a ground ball to Delgado. He'll make the play unassisted. Locke is retired. Steve, of course, from the island. Langley on the mainland, but very interested and very proud of the team from his province. One down here in the top of the 9th inning. Dave Stieb stands to be the winning pitcher. First pitch is a ball to Marty Cordova. Stieb 5 innings, 4 runs, all earned, 7 hits, 4 strikeouts, and 2 walks. Sinclair behind 2 balls and no strikes to the left fielder Marty Cordova.
Steve Sinclair has pitched well in his second stint with the Blue Jays this year. He last appeared against Kansas City 3 days ago. Pitched two-thirds of an inning, allowed 1 hit and 1 of the inherited runners to score. He loses Cordova on pitches. The remarkable thing with Steve Sinclair, and he still can't explain it completely, is remember he left baseball for a year and a half, was very disgusted about his progress in the Blue Jays organization, went home, began playing with a semi-pro team out in British Columbia, had a night job, worked at a hotel, but then when he started pitching again, he was starting to have more fun.
Comebacker, Sinclair for 1 on to first, and they get 2. Double play ends the ball game, and the Toronto Blue Jays 14 runs, 16 hits, defeat Minnesota 7 runs, 10 hits, 14-7. Dave Stieb is the winning pitcher. 3 home runs for the Blue Jays, 1 each by the young outfielders Cruz, Stewart, and Green. Well, the game took, what, 3 hours and 3 hours and 15 minutes. Back to talk to Sean Green after this. Tonight, Sean Green hit 2 home runs, including a 2-run homer to win the game. It was 7-6. Green with another home run, 29th of the year this afternoon, and a spectacular diving catch, his second this week in right field. Sean joins us. Sean, it's Brian Williams and John Cerutti. Congratulations on a big ball game.
Well, thank you.
Sean, in the last at bat, you knew you were a double away from hitting for the cycle. Was that first and foremost in your mind when you're in the batter's box?
Yeah, definitely. I was up there trying to hit a double, just trying to hit a ball hard. It was 2-0, and I got a good pitch to hit. I just missed it. But hopefully I'll get another shot some other time.
You haven't missed too many of them here in the month of August. This is the 2-run single with 2 outs that you had back in the 3rd inning. You look so relaxed in the batter's box and aggressive. You've been swinging the bat so well. What's been the difference?
Well, I think when you get in a groove and you're seeing the ball well, good things happen. I think this month, a ton of guys have been getting on base for me, especially Shannon and Alex have been doing a great job with his hitting streak. He's been getting on there, so when those guys are on base, it makes the pitcher a little tighter, and he's got to come in with some good pitches. At the same time, it helps me to get some RBIs.
Here's the home run, Sean. We saw that great diving catch in right field. People have talked about your defensive play in the past. They've said, you know, you've had some problems in the outfield. You have really come on strong of late.
Yeah, well, Jack Hubbard is our outfield coach. He's done a great job. He's helped me a tremendous amount. I think just by watching the way the whole outfield's played over the last couple months, you can see how much influence he's had on us. I said in the papers that I think this is probably the best outfield I've played with. And if you watching the game today, you can see Cruzy went and got a ball deep in the center. Shannon's been playing great, and I think it's going to keep improving as time goes on.
Sean, congratulations. Great couple of ball games here this weekend, and good game and that outstanding catch against Kansas City.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Sean Green with a home run here this afternoon and that great diving catch in right field. He had 2 home runs last night. The Blue Jays defeat the Minnesota Twins by a score of 14-7. Back in Toronto right after this. 8th inning, Pat Mears fly ball, foul territory in right field. Here's that great diving catch by Sean Green. Green with a home run today, the great catch, 2 home runs last night. Today's Chevrolet player of the game is Sean Green. A cash donation will be made to the K for Kids Blue Jays Charitable Foundation in the name of Sean Green. Tomorrow afternoon, Roger Clemens against Frank Rodriguez. Dan Shulman and Buck Martinez will have that game on TSN at 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific. Our next game is Friday night, Boston Red Sox in Toronto. Chris Cuthbert will be here with you, John, as I'll be in Vancouver next weekend, joining Bobby Unser, Jack Arute, and Greg Kramer for the Vancouver Indy, qualifying 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on Saturday, 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 Eastern, the Vancouver Indy on Sunday. And a week from Monday, don't forget, the road to the Grey Cup begins here on CBC. Traditional Labor Day doubleheader, Toronto's at Hamilton, and that'll be followed by the Battle of Alberta, Edmonton at Calgary. So again, the Toronto Blue Jays, they win it this afternoon, 14-7. Green, Cruz, and Stewart all with home runs. For John Cerutti, I'm Brian Williams. Good night from Toronto.